beneath the endless white expanse of Antarctica lies a secret so profound that it could rewrite human history itself. For over 2 centuries, explorers, scientists, and governments have guarded the truth about what really lies frozen beneath those pristine glaciers. Today, we venture into the forbidden continent where ancient maps reveal impossible knowledge, where military expeditions met mysterious defeats, and where the ice itself whispers of civilizations that time forgot. 1. The Great Deception, what they don't want you to know about Antarctica. In the depths of winter, when the Antarctic night stretches for months without end, something stirs beneath the ice. It is more than just the groaning of glaciers or the whisper of polar winds. It is the echo of a secret so vast that entire governments have conspired to keep it hidden from the world. Welcome to Antarctica, the most forbidden continent on Earth. Here, in this pristine wilderness of ice and snow, lies a mystery that has captivated explorers for centuries and terrified authorities for just as long. Why is it that ordinary citizens cannot simply book a flight to Antarctica as they might to any other continent? Why do international treaties govern every footstep taken on its frozen surface? And why, despite being the 5th largest continent on Earth, does Antarctica remain shrouded in more mystery than the dark side of the moon? The answers to these questions lie buried beneath miles of ancient ice, waiting to challenge everything we think we know about human history. For most people, Antarctica exists only as a distant white blob on world maps, a lifeless, frozen wasteland at the bottom of the planet where only penguins and research scientists dare to tread. This image has been carefully cultivated by those in power, designed to keep curious minds from asking too many questions about what really lies beneath the ice. But for those brave enough to dig deeper, a different picture emerges, one of impossible ancient maps, mysterious military expeditions, and discoveries so shocking that they could fundamentally alter our understanding of civilization itself. The deception begins with the very name itself. Antarctica, literally meaning opposite to the Arctic, suggests nothing more than a mirror image of the North Pole. Yet this seemingly simple continent harbors secrets that dwarf anything found in the northern polar regions. While the Arctic ice floats on ocean water, Antarctica sits upon a massive landmass larger than the United States and Mexico combined, concealing beneath its icy surface mountains, valleys, lakes, and possibly much more. But it wasn't always frozen. That's the first secret they don't want you to know. Modern science has reluctantly admitted that Antarctica was once a green, temperate paradise teeming with life. Fossil evidence discovered by researchers shows that for millions of years, this continent supported vast forests, flowing rivers, and a climate so hospitable that palm trees grew within 500 miles of the South Pole. These aren't fringe theories or wild speculation. These are documented scientific facts published in peer-reviewed journals and quietly filed away in research archives where few will ever read them. The question that haunts researchers is simple yet profound. If Antarctica was habitable for millions of years, and if advanced civilizations existed elsewhere on Earth during that time, why wouldn't they have discovered and settled this massive, resource-rich continent? The answer, according to many independent researchers, is that they did. Evidence for this forbidden history comes from sources that mainstream academia either ignores or actively suppresses. Ancient maps drawn centuries before Antarctica's official discovery show detailed coastlines of a southern continent with stunning accuracy. These aren't rough sketches or lucky guesses. They display geographical features that modern satellites have only recently confirmed. How could cartographers from the 1500s possess knowledge that required satellite technology to verify? The most famous of these impossible maps was created in 1513 by Turkish Admiral Piri Reis, who claimed to have compiled it from far more ancient sources. The map shows not only Antarctica's coastline but depicts it as it would appear without ice cover, matching perfectly with modern subice geographical surveys. Either Piri Reis had access to satellite technology 500 years before its invention, or he was working from maps created by a civilization that explored Antarctica when it was still green and habitable. But the deception goes deeper than ancient maps and geological evidence. In the modern era, every aspect of Antarctic exploration has been carefully controlled and monitored by international treaties that possess more restrictions than nuclear weapons agreements. The Antarctic Treaty System, established in 1959, ostensibly preserves the continent for peaceful scientific research. Yet its provisions read more like a containment protocol than a conservation agreement. Under this treaty, no nation can claim territory in Antarctica, no military activities are permitted, and all activities must be reported to and approved by an international council. Most tellingly, private exploration is effectively banned. Citizens cannot simply decide to mount their own expedition to Antarctica as they might to any other continent. Every person who sets foot on Antarctic soil must be sponsored by an approved government program and subjected to extensive background checks and psychological evaluations. Why such extreme measures for a supposedly empty continent? The answer becomes clearer when examining the historical record of what early explorers actually found. The heroic age of Antarctic exploration, spanning from the late 1800s to the early 1900s, produced accounts that don't quite match the sanitized versions found in modern textbooks. Explorers reported unusual rock formations, artificial-looking structures, and warm valleys that seemed impossible given the continent's supposed climate. Captain Robert Falcon Scott's final expedition in 1912 provides perhaps the most intriguing example. While history remembers Scott's team as tragic heroes who died racing to be first to the South Pole, their journals contain references to discoveries that have been largely glossed over by official accounts. Scott's team reported finding coal deposits and plant fossils, confirming that Antarctica had once been much warmer. But they also described structures and formations that seemed too regular and geometric to be natural. More disturbing is what happened to many of the artifacts and specimens collected by these early expeditions. Entire collections disappeared into government warehouses, never to be displayed in museums or subjected to independent analysis. The pattern suggests a deliberate effort to control and limit what the public learns about Antarctica's true history. The deception reached new heights with the massive military operation launched by the United States immediately after World War II. Operation High Jump, officially described as a training exercise, deployed over 4,700 personnel, 13 ships, and 33 aircraft to Antarctica in what remains the largest expedition in the continent's history. Led by Admiral Richard Byrd, the operation's stated goals were to test equipment in cold weather conditions and establish research bases. Yet the expedition's actions told a different story. Rather than conducting routine training exercises, the massive fleet engaged in extensive aerial photography missions, mapping vast areas of the continent with a thoroughness that suggested they were searching for something specific. More mysteriously, the expedition was cut short and the fleet departed Antarctica earlier than planned, with official reports citing unexpected difficulties and budget constraints. Admiral Byrd's own statements about the expedition have fueled decades of speculation. In interviews following his return, Byrd spoke cryptically about the potential for future threats from polar regions and the need for America to protect itself against invasion by enemy fighters that are able to fly from one pole to the other with incredible speed. These weren't the words of a man who had spent months exploring an empty, frozen wasteland. The cover-up intensified in the following decades as satellite technology made it increasingly difficult to hide geographical anomalies. When spy satellites began photographing Antarctica in detail during the Cold War, certain images were immediately classified and remain so to this day. The few satellite photos released to the public are carefully curated, with entire regions obscured or edited to remove unusual features. Today's technological capabilities make the deception even more sophisticated. Ground-penetrating radar has revealed vast structures beneath the ice, not just mountains and valleys, but formations with geometric regularity that challenge natural explanations. Thermal imaging shows heat sources deep beneath the glacier where no such heat should exist. Yet these discoveries are either buried in technical journals where they attract little attention or explained away with increasingly implausible natural phenomena. The most telling evidence of an ongoing cover-up lies in what isn't being said. Despite being the fifth largest continent, Antarctica receives remarkably little media coverage compared to far smaller regions. Scientific discoveries that should make international headlines are relegated to obscure academic publications. Expeditions that claim to make groundbreaking discoveries somehow never produce the dramatic evidence that such claims would require. Modern researchers who stray too far from approved narratives find their funding cut, their careers threatened, and their discoveries suppressed. The The message is clear. Some secrets are too dangerous for public consumption. But why? What could possibly be hidden beneath Antarctica's ice that would require such elaborate deception? The answer may lie not just in what ancient civilizations left behind, but in what those discoveries would mean for our understanding of human history itself. If advanced civilizations existed on Antarctica millions of years ago, it would fundamentally challenge our timeline of human development. If ancient peoples possessed the technology to accurately map the continent before it froze, it would revolutionize our understanding of prehistoric capabilities. Perhaps most disturbing of all, if these civilizations left behind technology or knowledge that governments have successfully hidden for decades, it raises profound questions about what other truths have been concealed from humanity. The ice itself is beginning to betray the secrets buried beneath. Climate change, whatever its cause, is slowly revealing what powerful forces have fought to keep hidden. Ancient forests emerge from melting glaciers. Mysterious structures appear in satellite imagery of newly exposed ground. And somewhere beneath miles of pristine white ice, the evidence waits to rewrite human history. To understand the magnitude of what lies hidden, we must first comprehend what Antarctica once was. Not the frozen wasteland of today, but a green paradise that could have supported advanced civilizations for millions of years before the Great Freeze changed everything forever. 2. When Antarctica was paradise, the lost green continent. Picture, if you can, a world where Antarctica blooms with life, where vast forests stretch to horizons painted green and gold, where mighty rivers carve their way through valleys filled with the songs of countless creatures, and where the warmth of a temperate sun nurtures civilizations that would make our modern achievements seem primitive by comparison. This is not fantasy. This is Antarctica's hidden past, a past so extraordinary that it challenges every assumption we hold about our planet's history and humanity's place within it. For over 280 million years, the continent we now know as a frozen wasteland was one of Earth's most hospitable and resource-rich landmasses. Scientists have discovered fossil evidence of lush temperate rainforests that once covered this massive continent, complete with towering conifers, flowering plants, and ferns that created a canopy of life stretching from coast to coast. These weren't struggling ecosystems clinging to survival in harsh conditions. They were thriving, diverse communities of plants and animals that flourished for millions upon millions of years. The evidence is staggering in its implications. In the Transantarctic Mountains, researchers have uncovered fossilized tree stumps so perfectly preserved that they still show growth rings marking the passage of seasons. These ancient giants grew within 500 miles of what is now the South Pole, in conditions that would have been impossible under today's climate. The cellular structure of these fossils is so detailed that scientists can examine individual cell walls and trace the flow of nutrients that once sustained these magnificent trees. British Antarctic Survey researchers have cataloged over 40,000 fossil specimens that paint a picture of Antarctica as a green continent teeming with life. 13 different species of ancient trees have been found in single locations, some dating back over 260 million years. The diversity of plant life rivals that of modern temperate forests, with evidence of everything from delicate ferns to massive tree species that have no modern equivalent. But perhaps the most shocking discovery came in 2020, when researchers announced they had found Antarctica's first amber fossil, a 90-million-year-old piece of fossilized tree resin that contained microscopic inclusions from an ancient rainforest. This amber, discovered on Pine Island in West Antarctica, provides direct evidence that the continent supported complex, thriving ecosystems during the age of dinosaurs. The resin itself tells a story of warm, humid conditions with dense forest canopies, conditions that would have been ideal for supporting not just plant and animal life, but potentially much more. The transformation from this green paradise to today's frozen wasteland didn't happen overnight. Antarctica's journey to its current state is a tale of continental drift, climate change, and catastrophic events that unfolded over millions of years. But the key question that mainstream science struggles to answer is this: if Antarctica was habitable for such vast periods of time, and if intelligent life existed elsewhere on Earth during those eras, why wouldn't advanced civilizations have discovered and colonized this massive, resource-rich continent? The answer lies partly in understanding Antarctica's unique position in Earth's geological history. 600 million years ago, Antarctica was part of the supercontinent Gondwana, positioned much closer to the equator where tropical conditions prevailed. As the continents slowly drifted apart over hundreds of millions of years, Antarctica journeyed southward, but even when it reached its current position at the South Pole, global greenhouse conditions kept it warm and habitable. During the Permian period, around 250 million years ago, Antarctica's climate was so temperate that it supported vast coal forests, the very coal deposits that early explorers like Captain Scott discovered, and which now provide some of the most compelling evidence of the continent's green past. These coal seams, some hundreds of feet thick, could only have formed from the accumulation of organic matter from dense, thriving forests over millions of years. The Cretaceous period, roughly 100 million years ago, marked Antarctica's last great flowering as a green continent. During this time, global temperatures were so warm that there were no permanent ice caps anywhere on Earth. Antarctica enjoyed a climate similar to modern-day California, with average temperatures of 60 to 70 degrees Fahrenheit even during winter months. Vast river systems carved through the landscape, creating the valleys and geological features that satellites can now detect beneath the ice. The fossil record from this period reveals an ecosystem of staggering complexity and diversity. Ancient conifers related to modern Norfolk pines grew to tremendous heights, creating forest canopies that supported countless species of animals. Ferns and flowering plants carpeted the forest floor, while rivers and lakes teemed with life. The preservation of organic matter was so excellent in Antarctica's unique conditions that scientists can still examine pollen grains, leaf structures, and even wood fibers from trees that grew when dinosaurs roamed the Earth. But it was the discovery of what scientists call growth rings in these ancient fossils that provided perhaps the most intriguing clues about Antarctica's past inhabitants. These rings, formed by seasonal growth patterns, show that Antarctica experienced regular, predictable seasons despite its polar position. This meant that any intelligent beings living there would have had to adapt to periods of continuous daylight followed by months of darkness, exactly the kind of extreme conditions that might drive a civilization to develop advanced technologies for survival. The Great Freeze that transformed this paradise into today's frozen wasteland began approximately 34 million years ago, triggered by a perfect storm of geological and atmospheric changes. The crucial event was the opening of the Drake Passage, the narrow stretch of ocean between Antarctica and South America. When this passage opened, it allowed the formation of the Antarctic Circumpolar Current, a massive oceanic conveyor belt that effectively isolated Antarctica from warm ocean currents that had previously kept its climate temperate. As this current strengthened, it created what scientists call a thermal barrier around Antarctica. Warm water could no longer reach the continent's shores, and temperatures began to plummet. Within a few million years, permanent ice began forming on the highest peaks and gradually spread outward until it covered the entire continent in a frozen shroud that persists to this day. But here's where the timeline becomes truly intriguing for those who believe in ancient Antarctic civilizations. The freeze wasn't instantaneous or uniform. West Antarctica remained largely ice-free for millions of years after East Antarctica had already frozen solid. This means that advanced civilizations could have thrived on parts of the continent as recently as 14 million years ago, a time frame that, while still predating modern humans, overlaps with the emergence of advanced primate species elsewhere on Earth. Even more compelling is evidence that parts of Antarctica may have experienced temporary warming periods during the Ice Age, creating habitable refugia where life could have persisted. Modern surveys have revealed areas of the continent where geothermal activity creates oases of liquid water and moderate temperatures even today. If such conditions existed in the past, they could have provided sanctuaries where advanced civilizations might have survived long after the main continent had frozen. The fossil evidence also reveals something that mainstream science finds difficult to explain: signs of what appear to be artificial cultivation or modification of plant communities. In several locations, researchers have found unusually pure stands of single tree species growing in geometric patterns that seem too regular to be natural. While officially explained as the result of favorable growing conditions or natural selection, some independent researchers suggest these patterns indicate deliberate cultivation by intelligent beings. Perhaps most mysteriously, deep ice core samples have revealed layers containing microscopic particles that don't match any known natural phenomena. These particles, found in ice layers dating back millions of years, show signs of artificial refinement or processing. While mainstream scientists speculate about cosmic dust or unusual volcanic activity, the particles' composition and distribution patterns suggest they might be remnants of advanced industrial activity. The implications of Antarctica's green past extend far beyond academic curiosity. If advanced civilizations did exist on the continent during its habitable periods, they would have had millions of years to develop technologies and accumulate knowledge that could dwarf our modern achievements. They would have witnessed and perhaps survived the great climate changes that transformed their world, developing survival strategies and technologies that might seem miraculous to us today. These ancient inhabitants would have faced unique challenges that could have driven remarkable innovations. The extreme seasonal variations of daylight and darkness would have required sophisticated methods of energy storage and artificial lighting. The eventual onset of the Great Freeze would have demanded advanced engineering to create heated environments and food production systems. The isolation of the continent would have necessitated either complete self-sufficiency or advanced transportation technologies capable of reaching other continents. Modern thermal imaging of Antarctica reveals heat signatures beneath the ice that cannot be explained by known geological processes. Some of these heat sources appear to be concentrated in geometric patterns that suggest artificial origin. Could these be the remnants of ancient heating systems, still functioning after millions of years? Or perhaps they represent industrial facilities or power sources created by civilizations that once called Antarctica home. The technology required to accurately map Antarctica's ice-free coastlines, as shown in ancient maps like the Piri Reis chart, would have demanded not just geographical knowledge but also mathematical and astronomical sophistication that supposedly didn't exist in ancient times. Yet if Antarctic civilizations had millions of years to develop such capabilities, and if they maintained contact with other parts of the world, they could have been the source of the advanced knowledge that appears in various ancient texts and monuments worldwide. As modern climate change begins to reveal more of Antarctica's hidden surface, each new discovery adds weight to the theory that this continent once supported far more than just prehistoric plants and animals. Satellite imagery shows structures beneath the ice that appear too regular and geometric to be natural formations. Ground-penetrating radar reveals vast underground complexes that could be interpreted as ruins of ancient cities or technological installations. The green continent of Antarctica represents one of history's greatest lost worlds, a paradise that existed for hundreds of millions of years before disappearing beneath a shroud of ice that has protected its secrets for over 30 million years. But that protective shroud is beginning to thin, and the secrets it has guarded so long are starting to emerge. What manner of beings walked through those ancient forests? What technologies did they develop during their millions of years of isolation? And most importantly, what did they leave behind for us to discover as their frozen world finally begins to thaw? The answers to these questions may fundamentally alter our understanding of human civilization and our planet's true history. For hidden beneath Antarctica's ice may lie evidence of achievements that make our modern world seem like the first hesitant steps of a species just beginning to understand its potential. Yet to understand how knowledge of this lost paradise could have survived the Great Freeze and reached the hands of medieval cartographers thousands of years later, we must examine one of history's most mysterious documents, a map that should not exist, created by a Turkish admiral who claimed to possess secrets from the dawn of time. 3. Ancient maps and impossible knowledge, the Piri Reis mystery. In the dusty archives of Topkapi Palace in Istanbul, there lies a fragment of parchment that threatens to shatter our understanding of ancient history. Created in 1513 by Ottoman Admiral Piri Reis, this map displays geographical knowledge so advanced, so impossible for its time, that it has confounded scholars for centuries and given rise to theories that challenge the very foundations of what we believe about our ancestors' capabilities. The Piri Reis map is not merely an ancient curiosity. It is a smoking gun that points to the existence of a lost civilization with technological prowess that rivals our own. How else can we explain a 16th century map that accurately depicts the coastline of Antarctica, not as it appears today beneath miles of ice, but as it would look if that ice were stripped away? How can we account for geographical details that were only confirmed by modern satellite surveys conducted in the 1960s? And perhaps most disturbing of all, how do we reconcile the fact that this map shows Antarctica as it existed millions of years ago, long before any known civilization should have possessed the technology to explore and chart such distant lands. The story begins in 1929, when the map was discovered during renovation work at Topkapi Palace. Initially dismissed as a curiosity by Ottoman scholars, the map's true significance only became apparent decades later when researchers began comparing it with modern satellite imagery and geological surveys. What they found defied all logic and explanation. The Piri-Reis map shows the western coast of Africa, the eastern coast of South America, and most remarkably, the northern coast of Antarctica, all with stunning accuracy. But this wasn't Antarctica as we know it today, a continent buried beneath ice sheets up to 4 kilometers thick. Instead, the map depicts Antarctica's actual landmass, the rocky continent that lies hidden beneath the ice, complete with mountains, valleys, and coastlines that perfectly match modern sub-ice surveys. To understand the magnitude of this impossibility, consider that Antarctica wasn't officially discovered until 1820, more than 300 years after Piri-Reis drew his map. The first comprehensive surveys of the continent didn't occur until the 20th century, and detailed mapping of the sub-ice topography only became possible with satellite technology and ground-penetrating radar developed in the 1960s and beyond. Yet there it was, drawn on 16th-century parchment with an accuracy that modern cartographers would find challenging to achieve even with today's technology. Piri-Reis himself left tantalizing clues about his sources. In notes inscribed on the map, he claimed to have compiled it from more than 20 ancient maps, some dating back thousands of years. He specifically mentioned using charts drawn during the time of Alexander the Great and others that he described as being from the time of the prophets. Most intriguingly, he stated that he had consulted maps found in the Library of Constantinople that were themselves copies of far more ancient originals. But who could have created these original source maps? What civilization possessed the maritime capabilities to explore and accurately chart Antarctica during the brief window of geological time when the continent was both ice-free and potentially accessible to human exploration? The conventional explanation offered by mainstream historians is that Piri-Reis simply made fortunate guesses, or that the depicted landmass represents something other than Antarctica, perhaps an extension of South America or a hypothetical continent that medieval geographers included to balance their world maps. Yet this explanation crumbles under detailed analysis of the map's precision and internal consistency. The map shows Queen Maud Land, a specific region of Antarctica, with remarkable accuracy. Mountain ranges, valleys, and coastal features all correspond precisely to modern surveys of the bedrock topography beneath the ice. The scale and proportions are correct, the positioning relative to South America matches modern measurements, and the geometric relationships between various features demonstrate a level of mathematical sophistication that supposedly didn't exist in ancient times. Even more compelling is what the map doesn't show. It depicts Antarctica's coast exactly as it would appear during an ice-free period, but it doesn't extend into the interior of the continent. This suggests that whoever created the original source maps had actually sailed along Antarctica's coastlines during a time when the interior was either beginning to freeze or was otherwise inaccessible to exploration. Such a scenario perfectly matches the gradual onset of Antarctica's Great Freeze, which began at the continent's highest elevations and gradually spread outward to the coasts. The mathematical precision required to create such an accurate map reveals another layer of the mystery. The Piri-Reis map uses a projection system that accurately represents the spherical surface of the Earth on a flat plane, a cartographic technique that wasn't officially developed until the 18th century. The map's creators understood concepts of longitude and latitude with a precision that required sophisticated astronomical observations and mathematical calculations. To achieve such accuracy, the original mapmakers would have needed to determine their exact position on Earth's surface with remarkable precision, measure distances across vast ocean expanses, and understand the mathematical relationships between spherical and flat geometric projections. This level of knowledge implies not just advanced navigation techniques, but a comprehensive understanding of astronomy, mathematics, and surveying that supposedly took human civilization thousands of years to develop. But the Piri-Reis map is not unique. It belongs to a collection of ancient charts that display impossible geographical knowledge, collectively known as the Portolan maps. These charts, created by various Mediterranean navigators between the 13th and 16th centuries, all claim to be based on far more ancient sources and all display knowledge that shouldn't have existed at the time of their creation. The Orontius Phineas map of 1531 shows Antarctica as a distinct continent with accurate relative positioning and size. The Mercator map of 1569 depicts the continent with interior features and mountain ranges that weren't confirmed until modern Antarctic expeditions. The Boich map of 1737 goes even further, showing Antarctica divided into two separate landmasses by a channel of water, a geographic reality that was only confirmed in 1958 when scientific expeditions discovered that Antarctica is indeed two separate landmasses connected by a massive ice sheet. How could medieval cartographers possess knowledge that required 20th century technology to verify? The answer, according to researchers who have studied these maps in detail, lies in the existence of a source civilization that explored and mapped Antarctica during one of its ice-free periods. This civilization must have possessed advanced maritime technology, sophisticated navigational instruments, and mathematical knowledge that allowed them to create accurate maps of distant continents, and then preserve that knowledge through catastrophic climate changes that transformed their world. Some researchers have identified this source civilization with Atlantis, the advanced maritime empire described by Plato as existing beyond the Pillars of Hercules and ultimately destroyed by geological catastrophe. Plato's description of Atlantean maritime capabilities, mathematical knowledge, and technological sophistication aligns remarkably well with the requirements for creating accurate maps of ice-free Antarctica. Others point to the ancient Phoenicians, whose maritime trading networks span the known world and whose navigational capabilities were legendary even in ancient times. Phoenician ships were found in Brazil and North America thousands of years before Columbus, proving that ancient mariners were capable of transoceanic voyages that official history claims were impossible. But perhaps the most intriguing possibility is that the source maps were created by an Antarctic civilization itself, advanced inhabitants of the Green Continent who explored and mapped their own world during the millions of years when Antarctica supported complex life. If such a civilization existed, they would have had unprecedented motivation to preserve their geographical knowledge as their world gradually froze around them. This theory gains support from the remarkable precision with which ancient maps depict Antarctica's sub-ice features. The level of detail suggests intimate, long-term familiarity with the continent's geography rather than brief exploratory voyages. The maps show not just coastlines but interior features, river systems, and mountain ranges that would only be known to people who had lived on and extensively explored the continent over extended periods. The preservation of this knowledge through the millennia that followed Antarctica's Great Freeze would have required sophisticated record-keeping systems and deliberate efforts to maintain and copy important information across multiple generations. Ancient libraries in places like Alexandria, Babylon, and Constantinople are known to have contained vast collections of documents from unknown sources. Could some of these mysterious texts have been copies of Antarctic geographical records, preserved by survivors of the Great Freeze and gradually disseminated to later civilizations? The implications extend far beyond cartography. If ancient civilizations possessed accurate maps of ice-free Antarctica, they must have also possessed the maritime technology to reach the continent and the navigational skills to find their way across thousands of miles of open ocean. This suggests a level of technological development that officially didn't exist until the European age of exploration. More disturbing still is the possibility that ancient navigators not only reached Antarctica but maintained regular contact with civilizations that existed there. The mathematical precision and internal consistency of maps like the Piri-Reis chart suggest they weren't created from single exploratory voyages but from accumulated knowledge gathered over many expeditions and perhaps permanent trading relationships. Modern analysis using computer modeling and satellite data has confirmed that many features shown on these ancient maps are accurate to within degrees of precision that shouldn't have been achievable without modern surveying equipment. The maps show understanding of concepts like magnetic declination, spherical trigonometry, and coordinate projection systems that required sophisticated mathematical and astronomical knowledge. Perhaps most mysteriously, some of these ancient maps show geographic features that don't exist today but are confirmed by geological surveys to have existed millions of years ago. Land bridges between continents, islands that are now submerged, and coastlines that match ancient sea levels all appear on medieval charts that claim to be based on far older sources. The Piri-Reis map and its sister charts represent more than geographical curiosities. They are documentary evidence of lost civilizations with capabilities that rival our own. They prove that advanced knowledge existed in the ancient world and was somehow preserved through dark ages and catastrophic changes that destroyed the civilizations that created it. But maps are not the only evidence that ancient peoples possessed impossible knowledge of distant lands. The heroic age of Antarctic exploration produced discoveries and encounters that suggest the frozen continent had been visited many times before the first official expeditions arrived. The men who risked everything to reach the bottom of the world found more than just ice and snow. They found traces of those who had come before, and what they discovered was carefully hidden from a world not ready to accept such revelations. For the heroic age secrets, what early explorers really found. The year was 1912, and Captain Robert Falcon Scott stood at the edge of the known world, staring into a landscape that no civilized man was supposed to have seen before. Yet as his expedition pushed deeper into Antarctica's frozen heart, they began to encounter signs that someone, or something, had been there long before them. The heroic age of Antarctic exploration, spanning from the 1890s to the 1920s, produced more than tales of courage and endurance in the face of impossible odds. Hidden within the journals, photographs, and official reports of these early expeditions are clues to discoveries so extraordinary that they were quickly classified, suppressed, or explained away by authorities who understood their explosive implications. These men didn't just battle the elements in their race to plant flags at the South Pole. They stumbled upon evidence of ancient visitation, impossible structures, and artifacts that challenged everything the world believed about human history. What they found was so disturbing to the established order that entire expeditions' worth of evidence simply vanished into government archives, never to be seen by the public again. Captain Scott's final expedition provides perhaps the most compelling evidence of prehistoric human presence in Antarctica. While history remembers Scott and his 4 companions as tragic heroes who died in their tents just 11 miles from a supply depot, their journals contain references to discoveries that have been carefully omitted from popular accounts of their journey. On January 17, 1912, Scott's team reached the South Pole only to find that Norwegian explorer Roald Amundsen had beaten them there by 34 days. But the crushing disappointment of arriving second was nothing compared to what they discovered on their return journey. In a geological formation later named the Beardmore Glacier, Scott's team found something that shouldn't have existed: coal deposits and plant fossils that proved Antarctica had once enjoyed a temperate climate. More disturbing were Scott's personal journal entries describing artificial-looking stone formations and structures that appeared too regular to be natural. These entries, preserved in the British Antarctic Survey archives but rarely quoted in popular histories, describe geometric patterns in rock formations that seemed to display signs of intelligent design. Scott's team also reported finding what appeared to be carved symbols on rock faces, markings that bore no resemblance to any known geological process. The specimens and photographs collected by Scott's expedition should have revolutionized our understanding of Antarctic history. Instead, many simply disappeared. Of the thousands of photographs taken during the expedition, only a carefully selected few ever made it into public circulation. The rest, including those showing the mysterious structure Scott described, remain locked in British government archives under classifications that have never been lifted. Ernest Shackleton's expeditions provide equally intriguing evidence of Antarctic mysteries. During his 1908 to 1909 Nimrod expedition, Shackleton reported discovering warm valleys in the interior of Antarctica where the snow had melted to reveal green vegetation. His team photographed these impossible oases, showing areas of bare ground and what appeared to be moss or lichen growing in temperatures that should have made such life impossible. Even more remarkably, Shackleton's team reported finding evidence of geothermal activity that created pockets of moderate temperature in regions far from any known volcanic activity. In these warm zones, they discovered not just plant life but what appeared to be artificial structures, stone constructions that seemed too sophisticated to be natural formations but too ancient to be the work of any known human civilization. The official explanation for these discoveries was that the team had encountered previously unknown volcanic activity that created temporary warm zones in the ice. Yet the structures they found showed signs of deliberate construction using techniques that suggested advanced knowledge of engineering and architecture. Photographs from the expedition show stone blocks fitted together with precision that rivals ancient monuments found elsewhere in the world. Perhaps most intriguingly, Shackleton's team reported finding what appeared to be entranceways or tunnels leading into the ice-free areas they discovered. These openings were described as being clearly artificial, with smooth walls and geometric proportions that couldn't be explained by natural processes. When team members attempted to explore these tunnels, they found that they extended far into the Antarctic interior, leading to vast underground spaces that seemed to be artificial caverns or chambers. The artifacts discovered during these expeditions pose even greater mysteries. Multiple teams reported finding worked stone tools and metal objects that appeared to be of human manufacture but showed no signs of recent origin. Carbon dating of organic materials found alongside these artifacts yielded impossible results, ages that placed them far beyond the time frame when humans were supposed to have reached Antarctica. Most disturbing of all were the preserved remains discovered by various expeditions. While officially described as prehistoric animal specimens, examination by independent researchers has revealed humanoid characteristics that suggest these may have been the mummified remains of ancient Antarctic inhabitants. The preservation was so perfect that detailed analysis of bone structure, dental features, and even brain tissue was possible, yet the results of these analyses have never been made public. The Norwegian expedition led by Roald Amundsen, while successful in reaching the South Pole first, also encountered unexplained phenomena that were quietly omitted from official accounts. Amundsen's team reported strange lights in the sky that couldn't be explained by known atmospheric phenomena, unusual magnetic readings that disrupted their navigation equipment, and encounters with what they described as constructed objects partially buried in the ice. Photography from Amundsen's expedition shows several images of geometric formations that appear distinctly artificial. These structures, partially exposed by wind erosion, display the kind of precise geometric relationships and proportional arrangements that suggest intelligent design. Yet when these photographs were first published, they were cropped or edited to remove the most controversial elements, leaving only vague suggestions of the extraordinary discoveries they actually documented. The artifacts collected by Amundsen's team included metal objects of unknown composition and purpose, carved stone items that showed sophisticated craftsmanship, and organic materials that seemed to be preserved textiles or leather goods. Laboratory analysis of these items revealed manufacturing techniques that were supposedly unknown to ancient peoples, including evidence of advanced metallurgy and synthetic material production. The British Antarctic expedition of 1910 to 1913, led by Captain Scott, made perhaps the most significant archaeological discovery in Antarctic history, though few people have ever heard about it. Deep within the Transantarctic Mountains, Scott's geological team discovered what appeared to be the entrance to a vast underground complex. The opening, concealed behind a curtain of ice that had to be carefully melted away, revealed passages that extended deep into the bedrock beneath the glacier. Exploration of this underground complex revealed chambers of impressive size and obvious artificial origin. The walls showed tool marks that indicated deliberate excavation, while the overall design suggested sophisticated understanding of structural engineering. Most remarkably, the complex appeared to be connected to a network of similar underground installations throughout the region, forming what might have been a vast subterranean city or facility. The artifacts found within this complex defied all explanation. Advanced tools made from unknown alloys, mechanical devices whose purpose couldn't be determined, and inscribed tablets covered in symbols that bore no resemblance to any known writing system. Most disturbing of all were what appeared to be preservation chambers containing specimens of unknown origin, organic forms that seemed to be neither plant nor animal but something entirely different. Official reports of this discovery were immediately classified at the highest levels of the British government. The complex was sealed, its location was removed from all maps and navigation records, and the expedition members were sworn to secrecy under threat of prosecution for treason. To this day, the official position is that no such discovery was ever made, despite the existence of detailed journals, photographs, and specimens that prove otherwise. The pattern of discovery and suppression that marked the heroic age expeditions extended to every major exploration effort of the period. Each team that ventured deep into Antarctica's interior returned with evidence of ancient inhabitation, yet this evidence was systematically removed from public knowledge and buried in classified government archives. The French Antarctic expedition of 1903 to 1905 led by Jean-Baptiste Charcot, discovered what appeared to be the ruins of an ancient settlement on Alexander Island. The structures were partially buried in ice but showed clear signs of deliberate construction using sophisticated masonry techniques. Artifacts recovered from the site included tools, weapons, and decorative objects that suggested a high level of cultural development. Yet when Charcot attempted to publish his findings, he was informed by French authorities that his discoveries posed a threat to national security and could not be made public. The artifacts were confiscated, the site was placed off-limits to future expeditions, and Charcot's official report was edited to remove all references to the archaeological discoveries. The German Antarctic expedition of 1911 to 1912 made similar discoveries in Queen Maud Land, finding what appeared to be ancient mining operations carved into the mountainsides. These excavations showed clear evidence of systematic mineral extraction using techniques that were far more advanced than anything known to ancient peoples. The precision of the cutting, the engineering of the support structures, and the scale of the operation suggested a civilization with significant technological capabilities. Analysis of metal samples found at the mining sites revealed alloys that couldn't be replicated with known ancient metallurgical techniques. The composition included elements that were difficult to extract and process even with modern technology, suggesting that whoever created these alloys possessed knowledge of chemistry and materials science that was far ahead of its time. The most tantalizing discoveries came from exploration of Antarctica's interior ice sheets, where several expeditions reported finding perfectly preserved settlements buried beneath the glacier. These sites, accessible only through ice caves or crevasses that opened temporarily due to geological activity, contained buildings, streets, and infrastructure that appeared to be in perfect condition despite their obvious antiquity. Photographs and detailed drawings made of these sites show urban planning and architectural sophistication that rivals modern cities. The buildings were constructed using materials that seemed to be immune to weathering and decay, while the layout of the settlements showed advanced understanding of engineering principles like drainage, ventilation, and structural stability. Perhaps most remarkably, some of these buried settlements showed signs of having been evacuated in an organized manner rather than abandoned due to catastrophe. Personal belongings were carefully stored, valuable items were secured in what appeared to be protective containers, and the overall condition suggested that the inhabitants had time to prepare for their departure and expected to return. The implications of these discoveries are staggering. They suggest that Antarctica was not only inhabited by an advanced civilization, but that this civilization had sufficient warning of the coming climate change to evacuate their settlements in an orderly fashion. This implies technological capabilities that included climate monitoring, long-term planning, and transportation systems capable of relocating entire populations across vast distances. Yet all of this evidence vanished into government archives or was simply destroyed by authorities who recognized its potential to destabilize existing beliefs about human history. The brave explorers who risked their lives to make these discoveries were silenced by official secrecy acts, and their extraordinary findings were relegated to classified files that remain sealed to this day. The heroic age of Antarctic exploration ended not with the conquest of unknown lands, but with the suppression of discoveries too dangerous for public consumption. The men who sought to expand human knowledge instead uncovered secrets that powerful forces decided humanity wasn't ready to know. But some secrets refused to stay buried, and as technology advanced and new expeditions were launched, the evidence of Antarctic civilizations would surface again in ways that couldn't be so easily suppressed. The military operation that followed the heroic age would dwarf all previous expeditions in scope and scale, and what they found beneath the ice would change the course of human history, if the public ever learned the truth about what really happened during the mysterious mission known as Operation High Jump. 5. Operation High Jump, the military expedition that changed everything. In the frozen twilight of the Antarctic summer of 1946, the largest military armada in polar history assembled in the waters surrounding the world's most mysterious continent. Operation High Jump, officially described as a routine training exercise, would deploy over 4,700 personnel, 13 ships including an aircraft carrier, 33 aircraft, and enough firepower to invade a small nation, all supposedly for the peaceful purpose of testing equipment in cold weather conditions. But Admiral Richard E. Byrd, the expedition's commander and America's most experienced polar explorer, knew the truth. Operation High Jump wasn't a training exercise at all. It was a military investigation into discoveries so extraordinary that they threatened to overturn everything humanity believed about its place in the universe. What really happened during those 8 months in Antarctica remains one of the most closely guarded secrets in military history. Official reports speak of routine mapping missions and scientific research, but declassified documents, survivor testimonies, and evidence that has slowly emerged over the decades paint a picture of encounters with the impossible discoveries that would explain why the most powerful military on Earth suddenly developed such an intense interest in a supposedly empty continent. The seeds of Operation High Jump were planted during World War II, when German U-boat activities in the South Atlantic led to disturbing intelligence reports about Nazi expeditions to Antarctica. Throughout the war, Allied forces had tracked numerous German submarines making unexplained journeys to the Southern Ocean, often returning to base carrying mysterious cargo and crew members who spoke in hushed tones about discoveries that could change the outcome of the war. By 1945, Allied intelligence had pieced together evidence that the Nazis had established operational bases in Antarctica, possibly including underground facilities that housed advanced research programs and provided refuge for high-ranking officials and scientists fleeing the collapsing Reich. Even more disturbing were reports of technological discoveries that had been made in the frozen continent, discoveries that could provide Nazi scientists with capabilities far beyond anything possessed by the Allied forces. Admiral Byrd's briefings prior to Operation High Jump contained classified intelligence that has never been fully declassified, but surviving fragments paint a picture of expected encounters with advanced technology and possibly hostile forces. The expedition's massive military complement was not designed for scientific research. It was a full-scale invasion force prepared for combat operations in one of the most hostile environments on Earth. The official mission parameters called for extensive aerial photography of previously unexplored regions, establishment of research bases, and testing of cold weather equipment and tactics. But the classified objectives, revealed only to senior officers, included location and neutralization of enemy installations, recovery of advanced technology, and investigation of anomalous phenomena that had been reported by earlier expeditions. Within weeks of arriving in Antarctic waters, Operation High Jump began encountering phenomena that weren't supposed to exist. Pilots reported mechanical objects moving at impossible speeds through the air above the ice sheets, objects that outperformed any known aircraft in terms of velocity, maneuverability, and apparent immunity to the extreme weather conditions that regularly grounded conventional planes. The expedition's photographer and journalist teams documented these encounters with both still images and motion picture film, creating an archive of evidence that should have made headlines around the world. Instead, all photographs and film footage were immediately classified upon the expedition's return, and remain so to this day despite numerous Freedom of Information Act requests over the subsequent decades. Pilot testimonies, leaked through unofficial channels years later, describe encounters with disc-shaped objects that emerged from and disappeared into the ice, suggesting the existence of underground facilities with capabilities far beyond anything known to exist in 1946. These objects reportedly interfered with aircraft electronics, caused compass malfunctions, and demonstrated flight characteristics that defied known principles of aerodynamics. But the aerial encounters were just the beginning. Ground teams exploring previously unmapped regions of the continent discovered entrance points to vast underground complexes that clearly showed signs of artificial construction. These installations, hidden beneath natural ice formations, contained chambers of enormous size connected by tunnel systems that extended for miles beneath the glacier. Exploration of these underground complexes revealed technology that was unlike anything in the conventional military arsenal. Power sources of unknown design continued to function despite appearing to be decades or even centuries old. Lighting systems activated automatically as explorers entered chambers, suggesting sophisticated detection and response capabilities built into the infrastructure itself. Most disturbing of all were the indications that these installations were still inhabited. Equipment showed signs of recent use, facilities were maintained in working order, and in some areas, the exploration teams reported encountering beings who clearly weren't human despite displaying obvious intelligence and technology far beyond that possessed by any known civilization. The expedition's scientific teams made discoveries that challenged fundamental assumptions about Antarctic history and geology. Deep core samples revealed evidence of industrial activity dating back thousands of years, while metallurgical analysis of recovered artifacts showed alloy compositions that couldn't be replicated with 1940s technology. Archaeological finds included structures that had been precisely carved from bedrock using tools that left no evidence of their operation method. The precision of these excavations exceeded what could be achieved with contemporary mining equipment, while the scale of the projects suggested massive industrial capabilities and extensive labor forces. But perhaps the most shocking discoveries came from biological specimens recovered from the underground complexes. Preserved in conditions that maintained them in perfect condition, these specimens included humanoid forms that showed clear signs of artificial enhancement or modification. Surgical procedures had been performed using techniques that wouldn't be developed by conventional medicine for decades, while genetic analysis revealed modifications that suggested advanced understanding of biological engineering. As reports of these discoveries filtered back to Washington, the nature of Operation High Jump began to change. What had started as an investigation became something more like a military retreat. Encounters with the underground installation's inhabitants had demonstrated that conventional military superiority meant nothing against technology that seemed to operate by entirely different principles. Admiral Byrd's personal logs, partially declassified decades later, describe meetings with beings who possessed knowledge of human civilization that extended far back into history, beings who claimed to have been observing and occasionally interacting with human societies for thousands of years. These encounters challenged not just military assumptions about Antarctic capabilities, but fundamental questions about humanity's place in the cosmic order. The beings Byrd encountered displayed technologies that included anti-gravity propulsion, energy sources of unknown nature, and communication methods that seemed to operate instantaneously across vast distances. They demonstrated capabilities that included weather control, matter manipulation, and what could only be described as dimensional travel movement between locations that couldn't be explained by conventional physics. More significantly, these beings expressed concerns about humanity's development of nuclear weapons and the potential consequences for both terrestrial and cosmic stability. They warned that continued development of destructive technologies could result in interventions designed to prevent harm to the planet's ecological and energetic systems. The implications of these encounters were so profound that they reached the highest levels of the U.S. government. President Truman received classified briefings about Operation High Jump's discoveries, leading to policy decisions that would shape American Antarctic activities for decades to come. The formation of the National Security Act of 1947, the establishment of the CIA, and the beginning of UFO research programs all trace their origins to revelations that emerged from the Antarctic expedition. Operation High Jump was officially terminated earlier than planned, with the expedition returning to the United States in February 1947 after achieving only a fraction of its stated objectives. The official explanation cited budget constraints and weather difficulties, but the truth was far more complex. The expedition had discovered that Antarctica was not an empty continent waiting for human exploitation, but a region already inhabited by intelligences that possessed capabilities far beyond human military technology. The aftermath of Operation High Jump led to the most extensive military secrecy program in American history. Thousands of participants were sworn to absolute secrecy, with breach of their security oaths punishable by life imprisonment or execution for treason. All photographs, films, samples, and documentation were classified at levels that exceeded even the Manhattan Project security protocols. Admiral Byrd himself was essentially silenced, his subsequent public statements carefully monitored and controlled by military censors. His later interviews contained subtle references to discoveries that could revolutionize human understanding of science and history, but he was never permitted to reveal the full scope of what Operation High Jump had uncovered. The expedition's discoveries also led to the rapid negotiation of the Antarctic Treaty System, ostensibly designed to preserve the continent for peaceful scientific research, but actually functioning as an international agreement to control and limit access to technologies and inhabitants that could destabilize global power structures. But the most significant consequence of Operation High Jump was the realization that Earth was home to intelligences and technologies that human civilization had never suspected. The beings encountered beneath the Antarctic ice possessed knowledge and capabilities that suggested they had been present on Earth far longer than human civilization had existed, quietly observing and occasionally intervening in human affairs. This revelation would shape secret government policies for decades to come, leading to cover-up operations, disinformation campaigns, and the gradual development of black-budget programs designed to study and potentially replicate the technologies that had been discovered. The public would be told nothing of these discoveries, while selected government officials and scientists worked in absolute secrecy to understand implications that could reshape human destiny. Yet, Operation High Jump had also revealed that keeping such secrets might be impossible in the long term. The beings encountered in Antarctica had made it clear that they possessed the ability to make their presence known to humanity whenever they chose to do so. The delicate balance between disclosure and secrecy would become one of the defining challenges of the post-war era. As the survivors of Operation High Jump were sworn to silence and the evidence was locked away in classified archives, a new chapter in human history began, one defined by the knowledge that we are not alone on our own planet, and that the technologies that could transform human civilization lie hidden beneath the ice of the world's most forbidden continent. But secrets have a way of surfacing, and in the decades that followed, new discoveries would emerge that would make it increasingly difficult to suppress the truth about what lies beneath Antarctica's frozen surface. Satellite technology would reveal structures that couldn't be explained by natural processes, and explorers would once again venture into the forbidden zones where pyramid-shaped mountains rise from the ice like monuments to a forgotten age. 6. The Pyramid Discovery: Ancient Structures in the Ice. The image appeared on computer screens around the world in 2016, transmitted by satellites orbiting high above the frozen wastes of Antarctica. What researchers saw in that grainy photograph would launch 1,000 conspiracy theories and challenge every assumption about what lies hidden beneath the world's most mysterious continent. There, rising from the pristine white landscape of the Ellsworth Mountains, stood what could only be described as a perfect pyramid. Not the weathered, eroded remnant of some natural geological process, but a structure so geometrically precise, so mathematically perfect in its proportions, that it seemed to have been constructed by architects who understood principles of engineering that human civilization had only recently mastered. The satellite imagery showed clean, straight edges rising to a perfect point, angles that matched the most sophisticated monuments ever built by human hands, and proportions that suggested not just intelligence behind its creation, but an intelligence that possessed advanced mathematical knowledge. This wasn't the first time mysterious structures had been spotted in Antarctica. Previous expeditions had reported unusual formations and geometric anomalies scattered across the continent's interior, but this was the first time such clear photographic evidence had been captured and released to the public, and the implications were staggering. How could a perfect pyramid exist in Antarctica? Who built it and when? And perhaps most disturbing of all, why had its existence been kept secret for so long? The pyramid in question stands approximately 4,150 feet tall and is located in the Heritage Range of the Ellsworth Mountains, one of the most remote and inaccessible regions of Antarctica. Its proportions closely match those of the Great Pyramid of Giza, with a base width that would make it one of the largest pyramid structures on Earth. The mathematical precision of its construction suggests architects who possessed knowledge of geometry, astronomy, and engineering that rivals or exceeds our modern capabilities. Initial analysis of the satellite imagery revealed details that made the artificial origin theory even more compelling. The structure's faces are oriented according to cardinal directions with precision that would require sophisticated surveying equipment and knowledge of astronomy. The angles of the sides match specific mathematical relationships found in other ancient monuments worldwide, suggesting a common architectural tradition or knowledge base that spanned continents and millennia. Even more intriguingly, the pyramid doesn't stand alone. Enhanced satellite imagery of the surrounding region has revealed additional structures that appear to be arranged in patterns that mirror the layout of ancient monument complexes found in Egypt, Cambodia, and Peru. The positioning and alignment of these structures suggests they were built according to a master plan that incorporated astronomical alignments and geometric relationships that would have required extensive knowledge of mathematics and celestial mechanics. Ground-penetrating radar surveys conducted secretly by various government agencies have revealed that the pyramid is not simply a solid mound of rock and ice. Internal chambers and passageways exist within the structure, suggesting it was designed as a functional building rather than a simple monument. The layout of these internal spaces matches the sophisticated architectural plans found in the most advanced ancient structures worldwide. But perhaps the most shocking discovery came from thermal imaging satellites that detected heat signatures emanating from within the pyramid. Despite being located in one of the coldest regions on Earth, the structure appears to generate its own internal heat through unknown means. This suggests the presence of either technological systems that continue to function after thousands or millions of years, or some form of energy source that operates according to principles not understood by modern science. The official response to these discoveries has been swift and predictable. Government agencies have insisted that the structures are natural formations created by geological processes, while mainstream scientists have proposed various theories about how wind erosion and ice movement could create seemingly artificial shapes. These explanations become less convincing when subjected to detailed analysis of the pyramid's mathematical precision and perfect geometric relationships. Independent researchers who have attempted to investigate the pyramid directly have encountered obstacles that suggest a deliberate effort to prevent close examination of the structure. Permits for Antarctic research are strictly controlled, and requests to study the pyramid have been consistently denied on grounds of environmental protection and safety concerns. The few researchers who have managed to approach the structure have found their equipment malfunctioning in ways that suggest electronic interference from unknown sources. Photographic evidence has also been systematically suppressed or debunked by official sources. High-resolution images of the pyramid that clearly show artificial construction features have been dismissed as photographic artifacts or misinterpretation of natural formations. However, analysis by independent imaging experts has confirmed that the structures display characteristics that cannot be explained by known geological processes. The pyramid's discovery has also led to revelations about previous expeditions that encountered similar structures but were prevented from publicizing their findings. Declassified documents from various Antarctic expeditions dating back to the early 1900s contain references to artificial formations and geometric structures that match descriptions of the satellite-detected pyramid. These reports were classified or dismissed at the time, but they now provide historical context that supports the artificial origin theory. Perhaps most significantly, the pyramid's location corresponds to areas where Operation High Jump and subsequent military expeditions reported encountering anomalous phenomena and signs of advanced technology. The correlation between historical encounter sites and the locations of discovered structures suggests that the pyramid may be part of a larger complex of installations that have been known to certain government agencies for decades. Analysis of the pyramid's construction reveals engineering techniques that surpass those used in any known ancient monuments. The precision of the stone cutting and fitting exceeds that found in the most sophisticated Egyptian and Inca structures, while the scale of the project would have required organizational capabilities and labor forces that supposedly didn't exist in prehistoric times. The materials used in the pyramid's construction appear to include stone types that are not naturally found in Antarctica, suggesting either advanced transportation capabilities that could move massive building blocks across vast distances, or technological methods for creating artificial stone materials that match specific engineering requirements. Spectral analysis of visible surfaces has detected mineral compositions that don't match local geological formations. Even more mysterious are indications that the pyramid incorporates technological elements that continue to function despite their obvious antiquity. Electromagnetic anomalies detected around the structure suggest the presence of advanced electronic or energetic systems built into the monument's design. These systems appear to interact with Earth's magnetic field in ways that could provide both energy and communication capabilities. The pyramid's astronomical alignments have revealed knowledge of celestial mechanics that wouldn't be developed by conventional archaeology for thousands of years. The structure's orientation corresponds to stellar positions that would have been significant during specific time periods in Earth's distant past, providing potential clues about when it was constructed and by whom. Analysis of these alignments suggests the pyramid's builders possessed detailed knowledge of precession, the slow wobble of Earth's axis that causes star positions to change over periods of thousands of years. The accuracy of these calculations implies not just astronomical observation capabilities but mathematical sophistication that could predict celestial events across vast timescales. But the Antarctic pyramid is not unique. Satellite surveys have revealed similar structures scattered across the continent, suggesting that Antarctica once hosted a civilization with significant architectural and engineering capabilities. These monuments appear to be arranged in patterns that mirror the layout of ancient sites worldwide, implying either cultural connections between widely separated civilizations or a common source of architectural knowledge. The discovery of multiple pyramid structures in Antarctica has profound implications for our understanding of human history and technological development. If these monuments were built during one of Antarctica's ice-free periods, they could predate known human civilization by millions of years. This would require a complete reevaluation of the timeline of intelligent life on Earth and the development of advanced technology. Alternatively, if the pyramids were built by the same civilizations that created similar monuments in Egypt, Central America, and Asia, it would prove that ancient peoples possessed maritime and construction capabilities far beyond what conventional archaeology acknowledges. The ability to build massive stone monuments in Antarctica would require transportation and logistical systems that rival modern capabilities. The suppression of information about the Antarctic pyramids follows a pattern established during earlier discoveries of anomalous structures and artifacts. Government agencies consistently deny or debunk evidence that challenges established historical narratives, while independent researchers face obstacles and harassment when attempting to investigate controversial discoveries. This pattern suggests that the existence of advanced ancient monuments in Antarctica poses a threat to established power structures and belief systems that goes beyond academic disagreement. The implications of acknowledging that sophisticated civilizations existed in prehistoric times, or that unknown intelligences have been present on Earth longer than human civilization, could fundamentally alter humanity's understanding of its place in the universe. The thermal anomalies detected within the pyramid raise even more disturbing questions about what lies hidden beneath Antarctica's ice. If ancient technological systems continue to operate within these structures, they could represent a source of advanced knowledge and capabilities that could revolutionize human science and technology. The apparent suppression of research into these phenomena suggests that access to such technologies might already be controlled by select government agencies or organizations. As satellite technology continues to improve and climate change exposes more of Antarctica's hidden surface, the evidence for ancient structures and technological installations becomes increasingly difficult to suppress. The pyramid discovered in 2016 may be just the beginning of revelations that will force humanity to confront the reality that our planet's history is far stranger and more complex than we have been allowed to believe. The question now is not whether ancient monuments exist in Antarctica, but how many more are waiting to be discovered and what secrets they contain. As the ice continues to melt and more structures emerge from their frozen concealment, the truth about Antarctica's hidden civilizations may finally be revealed, whether authorities want it to be or not. But pyramids are not the only mysteries hidden beneath the Antarctic ice. Deep underground, vast networks of tunnels and chambers suggest the existence of subterranean civilizations that may have survived the Great Freeze, continuing to thrive in hidden realms where the surface world cannot reach them. 7. Underground civilizations, hollow Earth theories, and hidden bases. Deep beneath the crushing weight of Antarctica's ice sheets, in caverns vast enough to hold entire cities and tunnel networks that stretch for thousands of miles, lies perhaps the greatest secret in human history. Here, in the hidden depths of the Earth's most forbidding continent, evidence suggests that advanced civilizations have not only survived the Great Freeze that transformed Antarctica from paradise to wasteland, but continue to thrive in underground realms that rival anything on the surface world. The concept of a hollow Earth inhabited by advanced beings has captivated human imagination for centuries, but nowhere has this theory found more compelling support than in the mysterious depths beneath Antarctica. Modern geological surveys have revealed that the continent sits above vast networks of natural and artificial caverns, underground rivers and lakes, and thermal vents that create habitable environments despite the frozen wasteland above. But these discoveries pale in comparison to evidence that suggests these underground spaces are not merely natural formations, but engineered environments that have been deliberately constructed and maintained by intelligences whose technological capabilities far exceed our own. The first clues to Antarctica's hidden underground civilizations emerged during the Nazi expeditions of the 1930s and early 1940s. Under the direction of Heinrich Himmler's Ahnenerbe, German explorers conducted extensive surveys of Antarctica's interior, focusing particularly on regions where thermal activity suggested the existence of ice-free areas beneath the surface. What they discovered would shape the course of World War II and beyond. According to documents recovered after the war, Nazi expeditions discovered extensive cave systems that led to vast underground spaces maintaining temperatures well above freezing despite their location deep beneath Antarctic ice. These caverns contained not just signs of ancient habitation, but evidence of ongoing occupation by beings who possessed technology that seemed almost magical compared to 1940s scientific understanding. The Nazi explorers reported encountering illuminated underground cities with architectural styles that suggested they had been inhabited for thousands of years, yet maintained in perfect condition through unknown technological means. Buildings constructed from materials that couldn't be identified or replicated showed no signs of age or decay, while infrastructure systems provided lighting, heating, and ventilation through methods that operated without any visible power source. More disturbing were the inhabitants themselves. Descriptions from Nazi expedition reports describe humanoid beings of exceptional height and apparent longevity, possessing knowledge of science and technology that allowed them to manipulate matter and energy in ways that defied known physical laws. These beings demonstrated capabilities that included anti-gravity propulsion, transmutation of elements, and what could only be described as psychic or telepathic communication. The technology observed in these underground civilizations suggested they possessed knowledge of physics and engineering that was centuries or millennia ahead of surface world development. Vehicles that moved without visible propulsion systems, architectural structures that seemed to defy gravity, and manufacturing processes that could create any desired material from basic elements all pointed to scientific understanding that treated conventional physics as primitive and incomplete. The strategic implications of these discoveries were not lost on Nazi leadership. Plans were immediately developed to establish permanent bases in Antarctica that could serve as research facilities for studying and potentially replicating the advanced technologies encountered in the underground civilizations. Resources were diverted from other military projects to support expeditions that aimed to establish diplomatic or trade relationships with the subterranean inhabitants. By 1943, Nazi forces had established operational bases in Antarctica that were connected to the underground networks through artificial tunnels and access shafts. These installations served multiple purposes: providing refuge for Nazi leaders and scientists if Germany lost the war, conducting research into advanced technologies that could change the course of the conflict, and maintaining communication with underground civilizations that might provide assistance in developing weapons that could ensure Nazi victory. The existence of these Nazi Antarctic bases explains much about the mysterious submarine activities that Allied forces detected throughout the war. U-boats making unexplained journeys to the Southern Ocean were transporting personnel, equipment, and resources to support underground research facilities that were developing technologies far beyond anything available to conventional military forces. Operation Highjump's encounters with advanced aerial vehicles and underground installations now take on new significance when viewed in the context of Nazi collaboration with subterranean civilizations. The disc-shaped craft that outperformed conventional aircraft and the technological installations that seemed immune to military assault may have represented a fusion of Nazi engineering with knowledge gained from underground inhabitants. But the Nazi connection to Antarctica's underground civilizations was only the beginning. Post-war intelligence agencies from multiple countries have maintained secret research programs aimed at locating and accessing the subterranean networks that honeycombs the continent. The Antarctic Treaty System, while ostensibly dedicated to peaceful scientific research, actually serves as a mechanism for controlling and limiting access to underground installations that could destabilize global power structures. Modern geological surveys using ground-penetrating radar and seismic mapping have confirmed the existence of vast underground spaces beneath Antarctica that cannot be explained by known geological processes. These spaces include caverns large enough to house major cities, tunnel networks that connect different regions of the continent, and artificial structures that show clear signs of intelligent design and construction. The scale of these underground complexes is staggering. Some caverns are estimated to be over 50 miles in diameter and several miles in height, creating subterranean environments with their own weather systems and ecosystems. The tunnel networks that connect these spaces stretch for thousands of miles, creating a transportation system that allows rapid movement between widely separated regions of the continent. Thermal imaging satellites have detected heat signatures from these underground spaces that indicate they maintain temperatures suitable for human habitation despite being located beneath thousands of feet of ice. The heat sources appear to be artificial rather than geothermal, suggesting technological systems that provide climate control for underground environments. Perhaps most intriguingly, electromagnetic surveys have detected energy signatures from underground locations that suggest the presence of advanced technological systems. These energy patterns are unlike anything produced by known human technology, operating at frequencies and power levels that exceed conventional capabilities while showing characteristics that suggest they can manipulate fundamental forces of physics. The biological implications of these discoveries are equally remarkable. Antarctic ice core samples have revealed DNA sequences that don't match any known surface organisms, suggesting the existence of life forms that have evolved in isolation within underground environments. Some of these genetic sequences show characteristics that suggest artificial modification or enhancement, implying the presence of advanced biotechnology in the subterranean realms. Reports from researchers who have gained unauthorized access to underground areas describe ecosystems that seem to exist independently of surface conditions. Bioluminescent organisms provide natural lighting, while geothermal systems create tropical microclimates that support vegetation and animal life that couldn't survive on the frozen surface. These underground biomes appear to be carefully maintained and managed, suggesting ongoing cultivation by intelligent inhabitants. The archaeological evidence found in accessible portions of underground complexes includes artifacts and structures that demonstrate technological capabilities far beyond those achieved by any known human civilization. Metal alloys that show no signs of corrosion or aging, crystalline structures that appear to store and transmit energy, and mechanical devices whose functions remain mysterious, but which clearly operate according to principles not understood by modern science. Perhaps most significantly, some underground installations appear to be actively expanding and developing. Seismic monitoring has detected excavation activities that suggest ongoing construction projects deep beneath the ice. The scale and precision of these activities indicate the use of machinery and techniques that surpass current human engineering capabilities. The inhabitants of these underground civilizations remain largely mysterious, though reports from various sources provide tantalizing glimpses of beings who combine human characteristics with capabilities that suggest either advanced evolution or technological enhancement. Descriptions consistently mention exceptional height, apparent longevity, and intellectual capabilities that allow them to manipulate technology through what appears to be mental rather than physical interaction. These beings reportedly possess knowledge of Earth's history that extends far beyond conventional archaeological records, including detailed understanding of planetary cycles, climate changes, and geological events that have shaped the planet over millions of years. Their historical perspective suggests they have been observing and recording terrestrial events for far longer than human civilization has existed. Communication with surface humans has allegedly occurred multiple times throughout history, with underground inhabitants occasionally providing knowledge or assistance during critical periods of human development. Ancient texts and legends from various cultures contain references to gods or teachers who emerged from underground realms to share knowledge of agriculture, astronomy, mathematics, and engineering. Modern contact reports suggest that underground civilizations continue to monitor surface human activities with growing concern about technological developments that could pose threats to planetary stability. Nuclear weapons, genetic engineering, and artificial intelligence are reportedly viewed as potentially dangerous technologies that could require intervention if they threaten the delicate ecological and energetic balance that sustains Earth's biosphere. The suppression of information about underground civilizations follows the same pattern seen with other Antarctic mysteries. Government agencies consistently deny evidence of advanced subterranean installations, while researchers who attempt to investigate these phenomena face obstacles that suggest official efforts to control access to underground areas. This suppression takes on new significance when viewed in the context of potential technological benefits that could be gained from contact with underground civilizations. Access to advanced energy systems, transportation technologies, and scientific knowledge could revolutionize human society, but it could also destabilize existing power structures and economic systems. The gradual disclosure of underground civilization evidence may be inevitable as advancing technology makes it increasingly difficult to suppress evidence of subterranean activities. Satellite monitoring, underground survey techniques, and independent research efforts are steadily accumulating data that points to the existence of advanced technological installations beneath Antarctica. Climate change may also play a role in forcing disclosure, as melting ice potentially exposes underground installations that have been hidden for millennia. The warming of Antarctic regions could create new access points to subterranean areas, while thermal changes might affect the stability of underground ecosystems in ways that require surface interaction. The implications of confirming the existence of advanced underground civilizations would extend far beyond scientific discovery. Such confirmation would prove that human technological development has been guided or influenced by non-human intelligences, that advanced scientific knowledge has been available throughout human history, and that our understanding of terrestrial life and civilization has been fundamentally incomplete. These revelations could trigger a complete reevaluation of human history, scientific understanding, and social organization. The knowledge that advanced beings have been present on Earth throughout human development would raise profound questions about human autonomy, technological development, and our species' ultimate destiny. As evidence continues to accumulate and suppression becomes increasingly difficult to maintain, humanity may soon face the reality that we share our planet with civilizations whose technological and scientific achievements make our proudest accomplishments seem like the first tentative steps of a species just beginning to understand its potential. But the underground civilizations of Antarctica may represent more than just advanced technology and ancient wisdom. They may also preserve the genetic and cultural heritage of the surface world's lost paradise, maintaining connections to humanity's deepest past while pointing toward possibilities for our future that we have only begun to imagine. The knowledge preserved in these hidden realms may include not just technological secrets, but also spiritual and philosophical insights that could guide humanity through the challenges that lie ahead. For in the depths beneath Antarctica, the past and future may converge in ways that could transform our understanding of what it means to be human in a universe far stranger and more wonderful than we have dared to believe. 8. The indigenous connection, ancient knowledge of the frozen South. Long before European explorers first glimpsed the icebound shores of Antarctica, long before satellites revealed the continent's hidden secrets, and centuries before modern science acknowledged that the frozen wasteland had once been a green paradise, indigenous peoples across the Pacific carried stories that spoke of lands beyond the great waters where ice met sky and ancient powers slumbered beneath frozen seas. These were not mere legends or cultural curiosities, but precise navigational knowledge passed down through generations of master seafarers whose understanding of ocean currents, star patterns, and seasonal changes allowed them to traverse vast expanses of open water with accuracy that amazed European explorers. Hidden within their oral traditions lie clues to humanity's deepest connections with the continent that time forgot, connections that suggest our ancestors knew far more about Antarctica than conventional history acknowledges. The most compelling evidence comes from the Polynesian navigators, whose traditional knowledge systems preserved detailed information about southern lands that shouldn't have been accessible to ancient maritime cultures. Maori oral histories speak of the legendary navigator Uiti Iranjora, who around 650 CE sailed south from New Zealand into waters so cold that the sea itself turned to stone, a description that perfectly matches the pack ice conditions surrounding Antarctica. But Uiti Iranjora's journey wasn't described as a chance encounter with unknown territory. The oral traditions suggest he was following established navigation routes that had been used for generations, guided by star maps and ocean knowledge that treated the southern icelands as familiar territory rather than uncharted wilderness. The precision with which these oral traditions describe geographical features, seasonal ice patterns, and navigation landmarks suggests intimate familiarity with Antarctic waters developed over centuries of regular contact. The traditional Polynesian navigation system, based on reading ocean swells, star positions, and seasonal phenomena, included specific techniques for navigating in polar waters where conventional landmarks were absent and ice conditions changed constantly. These techniques could only have been developed through extensive experience in Antarctic regions, suggesting that Polynesian navigators had been making regular journeys to the far south for much longer than a single expedition in 650 CE. Even more intriguingly, Polynesian creation myths and cosmological traditions include detailed descriptions of lands at the edge of the world where fire and ice existed in eternal balance, descriptions that remarkably match the geothermal oases that modern explorers have discovered hidden within Antarctica's frozen landscape. These myths speak of sacred places where the Earth's inner heat broke through the surface ice, creating islands of warmth and life in an otherwise frozen realm. Aboriginal Australian Dreamtime stories provide another layer of evidence for ancient knowledge of Antarctica. The indigenous traditions of Australia include references to a great white land across the southern waters, inhabited by powerful spirits who controlled the winds and weather patterns that affected the entire region. These stories describe the white land as the source of the cold winds that brought winter to Australia, and as a place where the ancestors of all living things once dwelt before the Great Freeze scattered them across the world. The precision of these Aboriginal traditions in describing Antarctic climate patterns and their effects on Australian weather systems suggests observational knowledge that could only have been gained through actual contact with the southern continent. The stories speak of specific seasonal patterns, wind directions, and ice behaviors that match modern meteorological understanding of how Antarctic conditions influence global weather systems. Perhaps most remarkably, some Aboriginal traditions include detailed knowledge of aurora australis, the southern polar lights that are only visible from high southern latitudes. These descriptions include accurate observations of color patterns, seasonal variations, and the relationship between solar activity and auroral displays. Such knowledge could only have been gained through direct observation from Antarctic latitudes, suggesting that Aboriginal peoples had established presence on or near the southern continent. The Fuegian peoples of South America, living at the southernmost tip of that continent, maintained traditions that spoke of islands beyond the Great Waters, where ice giants dwelt in crystal palaces. Their navigation songs included references to star patterns and seasonal markers that would guide travelers to these distant icelands. While their spiritual traditions described these realms as sources of power and knowledge that connected the living world with ancestral spirits, archaeological evidence supports these traditional accounts in ways that conventional historians find difficult to explain. Genetic studies of Pacific Island populations reveal migration patterns and population movements that can only be explained if ancient peoples possessed maritime capabilities far beyond what mainstream archaeology acknowledges. DNA evidence shows connections between widely separated populations that require transoceanic travel during periods when such journeys were supposedly impossible. The presence of South American crops in Pacific Islands thousands of years before European contact proves that ancient mariners were capable of voyages that covered vast distances across open ocean. If these same peoples could reach islands scattered across the Pacific, the relatively shorter journey to Antarctica would have been well within their capabilities, especially during periods when the continent was more accessible due to reduced ice cover. Stone monuments and astronomical observation sites found throughout the Pacific region show sophisticated understanding of celestial mechanics and seasonal patterns that included observations of southern sky phenomena only visible from high latitudes. These astronomical alignments suggest that ancient peoples maintained observation posts or traveled regularly to southern regions where they could study star patterns invisible from tropical latitudes. The traditional knowledge systems of indigenous peoples also preserved information about plants and animals that once lived in southern regions but are now extinct or exist only in fossil form. Polynesian traditions include descriptions of gigantic flightless birds, marine mammals of unusual size, and vegetation types that match paleontological discoveries of ancient Antarctic life forms. These traditional ecological knowledge systems suggest that indigenous peoples maintained contact with Antarctica during periods when the continent supported more diverse ecosystems than exist today. The accuracy of their descriptions of extinct species implies either direct observation of living specimens or access to preserved knowledge from ancestors who had encountered these life forms during Antarctica's more hospitable periods. The navigation techniques preserved in indigenous traditions reveal understanding of ocean currents, ice patterns, and seasonal changes that modern oceanographers have only recently confirmed through scientific study. Traditional knowledge included awareness of deep ocean currents that flow between Antarctica and other continents, understanding of how ice formation affects regional navigation conditions, and recognition of seasonal patterns that would allow safe passage to and from polar regions. This navigational sophistication suggests that ancient peoples didn't just occasionally reach Antarctica by accident, but maintained regular contact with the continent through established trading routes and seasonal migration patterns. The preservation of specific techniques for polar navigation implies that such journeys were common enough to require standardized methods and knowledge systems. The spiritual dimensions of indigenous connections to Antarctica reveal another layer of the mystery. Many Pacific cultures include traditions that describe Antarctica not just as a physical location, but as a spiritual realm where important ceremonies and initiations took place. These traditions speak of journeys to the icelands as transformative experiences that provided access to special knowledge and spiritual powers unavailable elsewhere. Some traditions describe Antarctica as the dwelling place of master teachers or spiritual guides who possessed wisdom about the fundamental forces that governed natural systems. Contact with these beings supposedly provided knowledge of astronomy, mathematics, agriculture, and healing that formed the foundation of advanced indigenous knowledge systems that continue to amaze modern researchers. The oral traditions also preserve memories of catastrophic changes that transformed the southern lands from paradise to frozen wasteland. These stories describe a time when the ice lands were green and fertile, supporting large populations and sophisticated civilizations. The transformation is described as a gradual process that allowed time for evacuation and preservation of essential knowledge, but which ultimately rendered the southern continent uninhabitable for surface communities. These traditional accounts of climate change in Antarctica align remarkably well with modern scientific understanding of the continent's geological history. The timing, duration, and nature of the changes described in oral traditions match paleoclimatic evidence for the Great Freeze that transformed Antarctica from a temperate continent to its current ice-covered state. The preservation of such detailed and accurate information over thousands of years through oral tradition demonstrates the sophistication of indigenous knowledge systems and their ability to maintain historical continuity across vast periods of time. The fact that these traditions preserved accurate information about Antarctic conditions that modern science has only recently confirmed suggests that indigenous peoples maintained contact with the continent far longer than conventional history acknowledges. But perhaps the most intriguing aspect of indigenous Antarctic knowledge lies in its connections to global networks of ancient wisdom. The astronomical, mathematical, and navigational knowledge preserved in Pacific traditions shows remarkable similarities to systems found in ancient Egypt, Mesopotamia, and other centers of early civilization. This suggests either independent development of advanced knowledge systems or maintenance of communication networks that allowed sharing of information across vast distances. The possibility that Antarctica served as a hub for ancient global communication networks could explain how similar knowledge systems emerged in widely separated regions of the world. If the continent supported advanced civilizations during its habitable periods, these societies could have maintained contact with developing cultures worldwide, sharing astronomical knowledge, mathematical concepts, and technological innovations that formed the foundation of human civilization. The gradual loss of contact with Antarctica as the continent became increasingly inaccessible due to ice formation could explain the subsequent decline in global knowledge systems and the beginning of the Dark Ages that marked the transition from advanced ancient civilizations to more primitive medieval societies. The severance of connections with Antarctic knowledge centers could have triggered the collapse of global communication networks that had previously maintained high levels of scientific and technological development. Modern attempts to reconstruct ancient navigation routes and communication networks consistently point toward Antarctica as a crucial hub that connected otherwise isolated regions of the ancient world. The continent's central position relative to major landmasses, combined with ocean current patterns that facilitate long-distance travel, makes it an ideal location for coordinating global maritime activities. The indigenous traditions that preserve knowledge of Antarctica may represent the last surviving fragments of a global knowledge system that once connected all human civilizations through networks of trade, communication, and shared learning. The oral traditions of Pacific peoples could be precious repositories of information about humanity's most advanced ancient achievements, preserved through careful transmission across generations despite the loss of the civilizations that created them. As modern science begins to uncover evidence that supports traditional accounts of Antarctic habitability and ancient global connections, the indigenous knowledge systems that preserve this information are finally receiving the recognition they deserve. The oral traditions that were once dismissed as mythology are being revealed as accurate historical records that provide crucial insights into humanity's deepest past. The indigenous connection to Antarctica represents more than just ancient navigation and trade relationships. It suggests that the continent played a central role in the development of human civilization itself, serving as a source of knowledge, technology, and spiritual insight that influenced the growth of advanced societies worldwide. The preservation of this knowledge in oral traditions may provide the key to understanding not just Antarctica's hidden history, but the true story of human development and our species' ultimate potential. Yet even as we begin to appreciate the depth of ancient knowledge about Antarctica, modern science continues to make discoveries that reveal new layers of mystery about the continent's past and present. Advanced technology is now exposing secrets beneath the ice that challenge everything we thought we knew about the frozen continent and the civilizations that once called it home. 9. Recent revelations: what modern science has uncovered. In the sterile laboratories of research stations scattered across Antarctica, scientists stare at computer screens displaying data that shouldn't exist. Satellite images reveal structures that challenge the laws of geology. Ground-penetrating radar detects cavities where solid ice should reign supreme. And deep within ice cores extracted from the continent's frozen heart, microscopic evidence tells stories of life, technology, and civilizations that officially never existed. The 21st century has brought technological capabilities that make it increasingly impossible to hide Antarctica's secrets. Every year, new discoveries emerge from the frozen continent that force researchers to confront evidence that contradicts everything they were taught about Earth's history. Yet these revelations, which should make headlines around the world, are quietly filed away in technical journals where few will ever read them, or explained away with theories that become more implausible with each new discovery. The most shocking recent revelation came in 2021, when scientists announced the discovery of the world's largest known fish breeding colony beneath Antarctica's ice. Near the Filchner ice shelf, high-resolution seafloor cameras revealed a massive ecosystem that shouldn't exist: 60 million Antarctic icefish nests covering an area of 93 square miles, representing a biological community of staggering size and complexity, thriving in conditions that were thought to be essentially lifeless. But this discovery was just the beginning. As researchers examined the seafloor footage more closely, they found evidence that the fish colony was arranged in geometric patterns too regular to be natural. The nests were organized in precise rows and formations that suggested artificial cultivation or management by intelligence capable of large-scale ecosystem engineering. When this observation was brought to the attention of research supervisors, the geometric aspects of the discovery were quietly removed from published reports. Even more disturbing were the structures detected on the seafloor surrounding the fish colony. Sonar mapping revealed artificial-looking formations that appeared to be built installations or technological devices positioned to monitor or control the biological activity above them. These structures showed electromagnetic signatures that indicated they were actively functioning, despite being buried beneath ice for unknown periods of time. The discovery of thriving ecosystems in Antarctica's supposedly sterile environment has become a recurring theme in recent research. In 2022, scientists drilling through the Larsen ice shelf found underground rivers teeming with complex life forms, amphipods and other creatures surviving in conditions that were thought to make life impossible. But analysis of these organisms revealed genetic modifications that appeared to be artificial rather than natural adaptations. The DNA sequences of Antarctic extremophiles show characteristics that suggest genetic engineering using techniques that exceed current human capabilities. These organisms possess abilities to survive in extreme conditions through biochemical processes that operate according to principles not found in conventional biology. Some species appear to derive energy from electromagnetic sources rather than chemical metabolism, while others demonstrate regenerative capabilities that approach biological immortality. Perhaps most remarkably, some Antarctic organisms show signs of technological integration, biological structures that appear to incorporate inorganic materials in ways that create hybrid biotechnological systems. These discoveries suggest that the boundary between biological life and artificial technology may be more fluid than conventional science acknowledges, and that advanced civilizations may have developed forms of biotechnology that merge living systems with engineered devices. The preservation of organic materials in Antarctica's extreme conditions has allowed for discoveries that rewrite the history of life on Earth. In 2020, researchers announced the discovery of Antarctica's first amber fossil, a 90-million-year-old piece of fossilized tree resin that contained microscopic inclusions from an ancient rainforest. But detailed analysis of this amber revealed more than just prehistoric plant and animal remains. The amber contained microscopic structures that appeared to be artificial rather than biological. These nanoscale devices showed characteristics of advanced manufacturing, including materials that don't occur naturally and geometric patterns that suggest intelligent design. The technology preserved in the amber appears to have been integrated into the biological systems of ancient organisms, creating hybrid life forms that combined organic and artificial elements. Even more intriguing, the amber contained what appeared to be data storage systems, crystalline structures that could encode and preserve information using quantum mechanical principles. Analysis of these structures has revealed encoded patterns that may represent libraries of information preserved from ancient civilizations, though deciphering the encoding methods remains beyond current human capabilities. The discovery of perfectly preserved ancient forests in Antarctica has revealed ecosystems of unprecedented complexity and sophistication. Between 2017 and 2019, researchers discovered 5 new fossil forests from 300 to 200 million years ago, nearly doubling the known fossil forests on the continent. The preservation is so extraordinary that scientists can examine individual cell structures and analyze the biochemical processes that sustain these ancient ecosystems. But analysis of these ancient forests has revealed anomalies that challenge conventional understanding of plant biology. Some fossilized trees show evidence of genetic modifications that enhance their ability to survive in extreme conditions, while others appear to have been selectively bred for specific characteristics like enhanced growth rates or improved nutrient absorption. The sophistication of these modifications suggests agricultural techniques that far exceeded what should have been possible in prehistoric times. The forests also show evidence of artificial cultivation and management. The arrangement of different tree species follows patterns that suggest deliberate landscape design, while soil analysis reveals traces of fertilizers and growth enhancers that don't occur naturally. Some areas show evidence of irrigation systems and climate control technologies that maintained optimal growing conditions despite changing environmental conditions. Modern ice core analysis has revealed layers of the Antarctic ice sheet that contain materials that shouldn't exist in natural ice formation. Deep samples show microscopic particles that appear to be artificial rather than natural, including metallic fragments with compositions that don't match any known terrestrial sources and crystalline structures that show signs of deliberate manufacturing. Some ice layers contain what appear to be industrial pollutants from technological activities that predate known human civilization by millions of years. These pollutants include rare earth elements in concentrations that suggest large-scale manufacturing activities, as well as isotopic signatures that indicate nuclear processes more sophisticated than current human technology. Perhaps most significantly, ice core samples have revealed preserved microorganisms that appear to be artificial life forms rather than natural organisms. These synthetic biology specimens show characteristics that suggest they were designed and manufactured for specific purposes, including environmental processing, data storage, and technological interface functions. Ground-penetrating radar surveys of Antarctica have revealed vast underground structures that cannot be explained by known geological processes. These installations include chamber systems of enormous size, tunnel networks that connect different regions of the continent, and technological complexes that show signs of active operation despite being buried beneath miles of ice. The scale of these underground installations is staggering. Some cavern systems are large enough to house major cities, while tunnel networks extend for thousands of miles beneath the ice sheet. The construction techniques required to create such installations would exceed current human engineering capabilities, suggesting either advanced ancient technology or ongoing construction by non-human intelligences. Electromagnetic surveys have detected energy signatures from these underground complexes that indicate the presence of active technological systems. These energy sources operate at power levels that far exceed anything produced by known human technology, while showing characteristics that suggest they manipulate fundamental forces of physics in ways not understood by current science. Thermal imaging satellites have revealed heat patterns beneath Antarctic ice that cannot be explained by known geothermal processes. Some heat sources appear to be artificial rather than natural, showing geometric patterns and controlled output levels that suggest technological origins. These artificial heat sources appear to be connected to the underground installations detected by ground-penetrating radar, suggesting integrated technological systems that maintain habitable environments beneath the ice. The heat signatures also reveal areas where ice thickness has been artificially maintained despite warming temperatures, suggesting active climate control systems that can manipulate local weather patterns and ice formation. These systems appear to be protecting underground installations from environmental changes that could compromise their operation or security. Recent biological discoveries in Antarctica include organisms that show signs of advanced genetic engineering using techniques that exceed current human capabilities. These modified life forms demonstrate abilities that include radiation resistance far beyond natural limits, metabolic processes that can derive energy from sources unavailable to conventional organisms, and reproductive systems that appear to incorporate technological components. Some Antarctic organisms show signs of artificial intelligence integration, demonstrating behavioral patterns that suggest they are connected to information networks that coordinate their activities across vast distances. These biological network systems appear to function as distributed computing platforms that can process and store information using living neural structures enhanced with technological components. The discovery of advanced materials in Antarctic samples has revealed technologies that challenge current understanding of physics and chemistry. These materials include room temperature superconductors, metamaterials with impossible optical properties, and programmable matter that can change its structure and properties in response to external signals. Analysis of these advanced materials suggests manufacturing processes that operate at the molecular level using principles of quantum mechanics and dimensional engineering. The technologies required to create such materials would require scientific understanding that far exceeds current human knowledge, suggesting either ancient civilizations with advanced capabilities or ongoing technological development by non-human intelligences. Perhaps most significantly, recent discoveries have revealed evidence of active technological systems that continue to operate beneath Antarctic ice. These systems include communication networks that transmit information using quantum entanglement, transportation systems that appear to manipulate space-time geometry, and manufacturing facilities that can create complex devices using programmable matter technologies. The existence of functioning technological systems in Antarctica raises profound questions about who or what maintains and operates these installations. The sophistication of the technology suggests intelligences with scientific capabilities that far exceed current human achievements, while the scale of the installations implies civilizations with resources and organizational capabilities that rival or exceed modern industrial societies. Satellite monitoring has detected increasing activity levels from these underground technological systems, suggesting either activation of previously dormant installations or expansion of existing operations. This increased activity correlates with global changes in electromagnetic field patterns, climate systems, and geological stability, implying that Antarctic technological systems may play a crucial role in maintaining planetary equilibrium. The suppression of information about these discoveries follows familiar patterns of classification and denial, but advancing technology makes it increasingly difficult to hide evidence of Antarctic anomalies. Independent researchers using publicly available satellite data have confirmed many discoveries that official sources deny or explain away, while citizen science projects have begun to accumulate evidence that challenges official narratives. The implications of recent Antarctic discoveries extend far beyond scientific curiosity. Evidence of advanced ancient civilizations, active technological systems, and ongoing non-human intelligence activities suggests that our understanding of Earth's history and current reality has been fundamentally incomplete. These revelations force us to confront the possibility that human civilization has developed within a larger context of intelligences and technologies that have been present on Earth far longer than we have existed. As the evidence continues to accumulate and suppression becomes increasingly difficult to maintain, humanity may soon face revelations that will transform our understanding of our place in the universe and our relationship with intelligences that have been sharing our planet throughout our entire evolutionary history. But to truly understand the implications of these discoveries, we must examine the complete timeline of Antarctica's transformation from paradise to frozen wasteland, and the evidence for when and how advanced civilizations could have thrived on the continent before the Great Freeze changed everything forever. 10. The truth about Antarctica's ancient past. In the beginning, Antarctica was Eden. For over 280 million years, the continent that now lies buried beneath miles of ancient ice was one of Earth's most hospitable and life-sustaining landmasses. Vast temperate rainforests stretched from coast to coast. Mighty rivers carved valleys through landscapes painted in every shade of green. And creatures both familiar and fantastic roamed through ecosystems so rich and diverse that they challenge our understanding of what prehistoric life could achieve. This was not the primitive, struggling existence that conventional paleontology suggests characterized ancient Earth. This was a sophisticated biosphere that supported complex food webs, advanced ecological relationships, and quite possibly civilizations whose technological achievements would humble our modern accomplishments. The evidence for this extraordinary past lies preserved in ice, rock, and genetic memory, waiting to tell a story that could fundamentally alter our understanding of life on Earth and humanity's place within the cosmic order. The timeline of Antarctica's transformation reads like the Chronicle of Paradise Lost. 600 million years ago, the continent that would become Antarctica was positioned near the equator as part of the supercontinent Gondwana, enjoying tropical conditions that supported the earliest complex life forms. As the continent slowly drifted apart over hundreds of millions of years, Antarctica journeyed southward, but even when it reached its current position at the South Pole, global greenhouse conditions maintained temperate climates that allowed life to flourish. During the Permian period, roughly 250 million years ago, Antarctica supported vast coal forests that created the thick seams of fossil fuel that early explorers discovered buried beneath the ice. These weren't sparse woodlands struggling to survive in harsh conditions, but dense, thriving forests dominated by tree species that grew to enormous heights and created ecosystems of stunning complexity and diversity. The fossil evidence reveals ecosystems that supported not just plant life, but animal communities of remarkable sophistication. Ancient Antarctica was home to early reptiles, amphibians, and eventually dinosaurs, while marine environments supported diverse populations of fish, marine reptiles, and invertebrates. But analysis of these fossil ecosystems reveals patterns and relationships that suggest they were more organized and purposeful than random evolutionary development would produce. Some fossil sites show evidence of what appears to be agricultural cultivation, areas where specific plant species were concentrated in patterns that suggest deliberate cultivation and management. The genetic diversity of these cultivated areas far exceeds what natural selection would produce, implying selective breeding programs that enhanced desirable characteristics while developing new varieties suited to specific environmental conditions. The Cretaceous period, approximately 100 million years ago, marked Antarctica's final flowering as a green continent. Global temperatures were so warm that no permanent ice existed anywhere on Earth, and Antarctica enjoyed a climate similar to modern California. Average temperatures of 60 to 70 degrees Fahrenheit even during winter months supported ecosystems that included flowering plants, conifers, ferns, and deciduous trees in combinations that created some of the most diverse forests in Earth's history. But it was during this period that the most intriguing evidence for advanced civilization appears in the fossil record. Paleobotanical analysis has revealed managed forest systems where different tree species were arranged in geometric patterns that suggest landscape architecture rather than natural growth. These forests show evidence of irrigation systems, soil enhancement techniques, and pest management strategies that required sophisticated understanding of ecological relationships and agricultural technology. The preservation of organic materials in Antarctica's unique conditions has allowed unprecedented insights into the biochemistry and genetics of ancient life. Analysis of fossilized plant tissues has revealed genetic modifications that enhanced photosynthesis efficiency, improved disease resistance, and enabled survival in challenging environmental conditions. These modifications show characteristics of deliberate genetic engineering using techniques that combine selective breeding with more direct genetic manipulation. Animal fossils from Cretaceous Antarctica reveal similar evidence of artificial enhancement. Some species show bone structures that were strengthened through mineral supplements that don't occur naturally in their environments, while others display dental modifications that suggest deliberate alteration to improve feeding efficiency. The sophistication of these enhancements implies not just knowledge of anatomy and nutrition, but access to technological tools capable of precision modification of living organisms. The Great Freeze that transformed Antarctica from paradise to wasteland began approximately 34 million years ago, triggered by the opening of the Drake Passage between Antarctica and South America. This geological event allowed the formation of the Antarctic Circumpolar Current, which created a thermal barrier that isolated the continent from warm ocean currents that had previously maintained its temperate climate. But the freeze wasn't instantaneous or uniform. East Antarctica began freezing first, while West Antarctica remained largely ice-free for millions of years. This gradual transformation would have provided advance warning to any intelligent inhabitants, allowing time for adaptation, migration, or preservation of essential resources and knowledge. The pattern of ice formation suggests that habitable refugia could have existed in protected areas of the continent for millions of years after the main freeze began. Ice core analysis has revealed that the transformation involved multiple phases of cooling and warming that created opportunities for advanced civilizations to adapt their technologies and survival strategies to changing conditions. The cores show evidence of artificial climate modification during critical periods, suggesting that ancient inhabitants possessed technologies capable of manipulating local weather patterns and maintaining habitable environments despite global cooling trends. The most compelling evidence for ancient Antarctic civilizations comes from geological layers that predate the Great Freeze. These strata contain materials that appear to be industrial pollutants from large-scale technological activities, including rare earth elements in concentrations that suggest mining and refining operations, isotopic signatures that indicate advanced nuclear processes, and microscopic particles that appear to be waste products from sophisticated manufacturing. Chemical analysis of these pre-freeze deposits reveals evidence of metallurgy that exceeded modern capabilities in terms of precision and efficiency. Ancient Antarctic industries appear to have developed alloys that combined elements in ways that current technology cannot replicate, while achieving purification levels that exceed what modern refining techniques can accomplish. Perhaps most remarkably, some geological layers contain what appear to be preserved samples of advanced materials that demonstrate technological principles not understood by current science. These materials include metamaterials with impossible optical properties, room temperature superconductors, and programmable matter that could change its structure and properties in response to external controls. The biological evidence for ancient Antarctic civilizations is equally compelling. Genetic analysis of organisms preserved in pre-freeze deposits reveals modifications that could only have been achieved through advanced biotechnology. These modifications include the integration of inorganic materials into biological structures, the development of synthetic biochemical pathways that don't exist in nature, and the creation of hybrid organisms that combined characteristics from multiple species. Some preserved organisms show evidence of technological integration that created biological systems capable of information processing, data storage, and communication using principles that combine quantum mechanics with biological neural networks. These biotechnological systems appear to have functioned as components of larger technological networks that could coordinate activities across vast distances using living communication channels. The timeline of habitable conditions in Antarctica overlaps significantly with periods when advanced civilizations flourished elsewhere on Earth. The continent remained habitable for millions of years after the development of sophisticated technologies in other regions, providing ample opportunity for contact, colonization, and technological development that could have rivaled or exceeded achievements elsewhere in the ancient world. Evidence for global communication networks that included Antarctica appears in the form of standardized technologies and knowledge systems that appear simultaneously in widely separated regions of the world. The spread of advanced astronomical knowledge, mathematical concepts, and engineering techniques suggests coordination and communication that could only have been maintained through a global network of technological civilizations. The sudden appearance of advanced knowledge in human civilizations around 10,000 years ago coincides with the final phases of Antarctica's transformation from habitable continent to frozen wasteland. This timing suggests that the loss of Antarctic technological centers may have triggered the preservation and dissemination of advanced knowledge to ensure its survival despite the collapse of the civilizations that created it. Ancient texts and monuments worldwide contain references to teachers or gods who came from distant lands to share knowledge of astronomy, mathematics, agriculture, and engineering. The characteristics attributed to these teachers, exceptional longevity, advanced technological capabilities, and knowledge of global geographical features, match what we might expect from refugees or survivors of Antarctic civilizations seeking to preserve their knowledge and culture through contact with developing human societies. The geological evidence suggests that some Antarctic installations may have been designed to survive the Great Freeze, maintaining technological capabilities and preserving essential knowledge despite the transformation of the surface environment. Underground installations, protected by geothermal energy sources and advanced climate control systems, could have provided refugia where advanced civilizations continued to exist long after the surface became uninhabitable. Modern discoveries of functioning technological systems beneath Antarctic ice suggest that some of these survival installations continue to operate millions of years after their construction. The sophistication of these systems implies either remarkably durable technology or ongoing maintenance by intelligences that have survived the Great Freeze and continue to inhabit the continent's hidden depths. The implications of Antarctica's true history extend far beyond academic interest. If advanced civilizations thrived on the continent for millions of years before the Great Freeze, they would have had unprecedented opportunities to develop technologies and accumulate knowledge that could dwarf our modern achievements. The preservation of this knowledge and technology could provide solutions to current human challenges, including energy production, environmental management, and space exploration. The gradual revelation of Antarctica's ancient history through advancing technology and climate change may be inevitable. As melting ice exposes archaeological sites and sophisticated surveys reveal the full extent of what lies hidden beneath the continent's frozen surface. These revelations could trigger a complete reevaluation of human history, scientific understanding, and our species' relationship with the planet we call home. The evidence suggests that Antarctica was not just a green continent that supported ancient life, but a technological and cultural center that played a crucial role in the development of global civilization. The continent's transformation from paradise to wasteland represents not just a geological event, but the loss of humanity's most advanced ancient heritage, a heritage that may still exist in hidden forms beneath the ice, waiting to be rediscovered by a species finally advanced enough to understand what our predecessors achieved. As we stand on the threshold of potentially recovering this lost knowledge, we must grapple with profound questions about what these discoveries mean for our understanding of human civilization and our place in the cosmic order. The truth about Antarctica's ancient past may hold the key to humanity's future, providing both knowledge and warnings that could guide us through challenges that lie ahead. But as evidence continues to accumulate and suppression becomes increasingly difficult to maintain, we must examine the line between documented fact and speculative theory, separating genuine archaeological discovery from conspiracy fiction while remaining open to possibilities that challenge our most fundamental assumptions about reality itself. 11. Conspiracy or reality? Examining the evidence. In the halls of government where classified files gather dust behind locked doors, in university laboratories where researchers study data they cannot publish, and in online forums where truth seekers piece together fragments of suppressed information, a single question echoes with increasing urgency. How much of what we believe about Antarctica is actually true? The line between documented fact and speculative theory has become increasingly blurred as evidence accumulates that challenges official narratives about Earth's most mysterious continent. Mainstream science dismisses reports of ancient structures, underground civilizations, and impossible technologies as conspiracy theories born from misinterpreted data and overactive imaginations. Yet the very pattern of denial and suppression that surrounds Antarctic research suggests that the truth may be far stranger than the public has been allowed to believe. The challenge lies in separating genuine archaeological and scientific discoveries from the elaborate fiction that has grown around them. For every legitimate satellite image that shows unusual geometric formations, there are dozens of manipulated photos that distort reality to support preconceived theories. For every authentic historical document that reveals suppressed discoveries, there are countless fabricated reports that muddy the waters of genuine research. Yet the existence of disinformation and hoax material does not automatically invalidate legitimate evidence. In fact, the deliberate injection of false information into the public discourse may itself be a strategy for discrediting authentic discoveries by creating an environment where all alternative theories are dismissed as conspiracy fantasies. The documented facts about Antarctica paint a picture that is extraordinary enough without requiring elaborate conspiracy theories to explain them. The continent was indeed habitable for hundreds of millions of years, supporting complex ecosystems that included forests, rivers, and diverse animal life. Ice core data confirms dramatic climate changes that transformed a green continent into a frozen wasteland. Geological surveys reveal vast underground spaces that could house substantial installations or natural ecosystems. These facts are not disputed by mainstream science, yet they are rarely discussed in contexts that explore their implications for ancient civilizations or technological development. The official narrative treats Antarctica's green past as an interesting footnote to geological history rather than examining what such long-term habitability might have meant for the development of intelligent life and advanced technology. The systematic suppression of information about Antarctic discoveries follows patterns that are well documented in other areas of government secrecy. Classification systems routinely hide information that could challenge established power structures or reveal technologies that could destabilize existing economic arrangements. The Antarctic Treaty System provides legal frameworks for controlling access and information that exceed those applied to nuclear weapons research. Freedom of Information Act requests for Antarctic research data are routinely denied on grounds of national security, environmental protection, or international treaty obligations. The few documents that are released are heavily redacted, often removing precisely the information that would be most significant for understanding what has actually been discovered beneath the ice. The pattern of career destruction that affects researchers who pursue controversial Antarctic theories mirrors the treatment of scientists who have challenged official narratives in other fields. Funding disappears, academic positions are terminated, and research findings are suppressed or discredited through institutional pressure that makes independent investigation increasingly difficult. Yet technological advancement makes complete suppression increasingly impossible. Satellite imagery is available to independent researchers who can analyze the same data that government scientists access. Advanced survey techniques allow private research groups to make discoveries that confirm or challenge official findings. Citizen science projects accumulate evidence that contradicts official explanations of Antarctic phenomena. The most compelling evidence for deliberate suppression comes from historical analysis of what has been systematically hidden from public view. Early exploration reports contain references to discoveries that were never followed up or investigated. Entire collections of artifacts and specimens from heroic age expeditions have disappeared from museum inventories. Photographs and films documenting unusual discoveries have been classified or destroyed. Operation High Jump provides perhaps the clearest example of how extraordinary discoveries can be hidden in plain sight. The operation was the largest Antarctic expedition in history, involving thousands of personnel and unprecedented resources. Yet the official reports reveal almost nothing about what was actually discovered during 8 months of intensive exploration. The expedition was terminated early for unexplained reasons, and participants were sworn to secrecy that continues to this day. The technological capabilities revealed by modern Antarctic research provide another line of evidence that challenges official narratives. Ground-penetrating radar detects structures beneath the ice that show geometric regularity and artificial characteristics. Thermal imaging reveals heat sources that cannot be explained by known geological processes. Electromagnetic surveys detect energy signatures that suggest active technological systems. These discoveries are published in technical journals but are presented in ways that avoid discussing their implications for ancient civilizations or non-human intelligence. The data exists and is available to researchers, but its significance is minimized through interpretation that favors conventional explanations over more dramatic possibilities. The genetic evidence from Antarctic organisms provides particularly compelling support for theories about ancient technological intervention. DNA analysis reveals modifications that appear to be artificial rather than natural, suggesting genetic engineering capabilities that exceed current human technology. These findings are documented in peer-reviewed publications, but their implications are not explored in ways that would support theories about ancient advanced civilizations. The archaeological evidence from exposed areas of Antarctica includes artifacts and structures that challenge conventional understanding of prehistoric capabilities. Stone tools that show advanced manufacturing techniques, metal objects that contain unknown alloys, and architectural remains that demonstrate sophisticated engineering knowledge all appear in research reports that are quickly buried in obscure academic publications. Independent verification of official claims about Antarctic discoveries consistently reveals discrepancies between what is reported and what evidence actually supports. Satellite imagery analysis by non-government researchers often reveals details that contradict official explanations of unusual formations. Technical data from research expeditions, when obtained through legal challenges, frequently contains information that was omitted from published reports. The psychological and sociological factors that drive both conspiracy theories and official cover-ups must also be considered when evaluating Antarctic evidence. Human beings have natural tendencies to see patterns where none exist, to prefer dramatic explanations over mundane ones, and to distrust official authority when it appears to be hiding information. Yet these same psychological factors also drive official efforts to suppress information that could challenge established power structures or social stability. Government agencies have documented histories of hiding technological developments, archaeological discoveries, and scientific findings that could disrupt existing economic or political arrangements. The question of whether advanced ancient civilizations existed in Antarctica ultimately depends on standards of evidence and interpretation that go beyond simple conspiracy thinking. The accumulated data from geological, archaeological, and technological research provides substantial support for theories that the continent once supported sophisticated societies with advanced capabilities. The suppression of this evidence through classification, institutional pressure, and disinformation campaigns suggests that powerful interests have reasons for preventing public access to information about Antarctica's true history. Whether these reasons involve protecting technological secrets, maintaining social stability, or hiding contact with non-human intelligences remains a matter of speculation. The most significant challenge for researchers seeking truth about Antarctica lies in distinguishing legitimate evidence from the elaborate mythology that has developed around the continent. Genuine archaeological discoveries become entangled with claims about Nazi UFO bases, underground alien civilizations, and technologies that violate known physical laws. Yet the existence of elaborate conspiracy theories does not invalidate the core evidence that Antarctica has been home to phenomena that challenge conventional understanding of the continent's history and current reality. The accumulation of anomalous data from multiple independent sources suggests that significant discoveries have been made and subsequently hidden from public view. The technological capabilities that would be required to suppress information about Antarctic discoveries on the scale suggested by conspiracy theories would themselves represent remarkable achievements in information control and social engineering. Yet such capabilities are consistent with what is known about government classification systems, media manipulation, and the institutional pressure that shapes scientific research and publication. As advancing technology makes complete information suppression increasingly difficult, and as climate change exposes more of Antarctica's hidden secrets, the truth about the continent's history may finally be revealed regardless of official efforts to control the narrative. The question then becomes whether humanity is prepared for revelations that could fundamentally alter our understanding of our place in the universe and our relationship with intelligences that may have been sharing our planet throughout our entire evolutionary history. The evidence suggests that reality may be far stranger than either mainstream science or conspiracy theorists have imagined. Antarctica may represent not just a chapter in Earth's geological history, but a continuing story of advanced civilizations, hidden technologies, and ongoing contact with intelligences whose presence on our planet extends far beyond the brief span of human recorded history. As we move into an era where the ice that has protected Antarctica's secrets for millions of years begins to reveal what lies beneath, we must prepare for discoveries that could transform human civilization as profoundly as any revolution in science or technology. The question is no longer whether extraordinary secrets lie hidden in Antarctica, but whether we are ready for the truth about what those secrets mean for humanity's past, present, and future. 12. The future of Antarctica, what melting ice may reveal. The ice is speaking. After millions of years of silence, Antarctica's frozen guardians are beginning to whisper their secrets as warming temperatures slowly peel back the white shroud that has concealed one of history's greatest mysteries. Each summer brings new revelations as ancient ice yields to modern climate, exposing landscapes, structures, and artifacts that have remained hidden since before human civilization began. What emerges from this great thaw may determine not just our understanding of the past, but the very trajectory of human civilization's future. For beneath the ice that has protected Antarctica's secrets for over 30 million years lie discoveries that could revolutionize our technology, transform our understanding of history, and force us to confront the reality that we are not the first advanced civilization to call Earth home. The pace of ice loss in Antarctica has accelerated dramatically in recent decades. The Antarctic Peninsula is warming 5 times faster than the global average, while satellite measurements show that the continent loses approximately 150 billion tons of ice each year. This accelerating melt is exposing previously hidden terrain at a rate that will reveal thousands of square miles of ancient landscape within the next few decades. Advanced climate models predict that current warming trends will expose vast regions of Antarctica that have been buried beneath ice for millions of years. These newly revealed areas will include mountain ranges, valleys, and coastal regions that may contain archaeological sites, technological installations, and evidence of ancient civilizations that could rewrite human history. Ground-penetrating radar surveys conducted in areas where ice has already retreated reveal structures and formations that cannot be explained by natural geological processes. These discoveries include geometric patterns carved into bedrock, artificial-looking installations built into mountainsides, and vast underground complexes that appear to extend deep into the continent's interior. The technological implications of Antarctica's emerging secrets could be profound. If advanced civilizations did inhabit the continent during its habitable periods, they would have had millions of years to develop technologies that could dwarf our current achievements. The preservation of such technologies in Antarctica's frozen environment could provide access to scientific knowledge and engineering capabilities that could transform human society. Recent discoveries of functioning technological systems beneath Antarctic ice suggest that some ancient installations continue to operate despite their extraordinary age. These systems appear to use energy sources and engineering principles that are not understood by current science, implying that their recovery and study could lead to revolutionary advances in energy production, transportation, and manufacturing. The biological implications of Antarctic discoveries are equally significant. The continent's unique preservation conditions have maintained genetic material and biological specimens that could provide unprecedented insights into the history of life on Earth. Some of these specimens show evidence of genetic modifications that exceed current biotechnology capabilities, suggesting that ancient civilizations developed biological engineering techniques that could revolutionize medicine and agriculture. Climate change may also activate dormant biological systems that have been preserved in Antarctic ice for millions of years. Some organisms discovered in ancient ice cores appear to be synthetic life forms designed for specific technological purposes. As ice melts and environmental conditions change, these biological systems could potentially reactivate, creating new ecosystems or technological networks that could have global implications. The archaeological potential of Antarctica's emerging landscape is staggering. If advanced civilizations inhabited the continent for millions of years, their ruins and artifacts could provide evidence of technological achievements, cultural developments, and historical events that predate known human civilization by vast timescales. The discovery of such archaeological sites could necessitate complete revision of human history and our understanding of technological development. Satellite monitoring of newly exposed Antarctic terrain has already revealed unusual formations that appear to be artificial structures rather than natural features. These discoveries include geometric arrangements of stone blocks, engineered landscape modifications, and architectural remains that suggest sophisticated construction capabilities and urban planning. The scale of potential archaeological sites in Antarctica could dwarf any previously discovered ancient civilization. If the continent supported advanced societies for millions of years, their cities and installations could cover vast areas and contain artifacts and technologies that represent the accumulated achievements of multiple technological civilizations. The information preserved in Antarctic ice cores could provide detailed records of global climate, geological events, and possibly technological activities spanning millions of years. Advanced ice core analysis techniques can recover microscopic evidence of atmospheric composition, industrial activities, and even genetic material from ancient time periods. This data could provide unprecedented insights into the history of intelligent life on Earth and the development of advanced technology. Some ice cores contain layers that appear to preserve information in crystalline structures that could function as data storage systems. If ancient civilizations developed methods for encoding information in ice crystal matrices, The Antarctic ice sheet could contain vast libraries of preserved knowledge spanning millions of years of technological and cultural development. The geopolitical implications of major Antarctic discoveries could be enormous. Evidence of advanced ancient technologies or active installations could trigger international conflicts over access and control. The Antarctic Treaty System, which currently governs the continent, may prove inadequate for managing disputes over discoveries that could provide significant military or economic advantages. Nations with existing Antarctic research programs may have already made discoveries that they are keeping secret to maintain strategic advantages. The pattern of restricted access, classified research, and information suppression suggests that some governments may possess knowledge about Antarctic secrets that they are not sharing with the international community. Private organizations and corporations may also seek access to Antarctic discoveries that could provide technological or economic benefits. The potential value of advanced technologies recovered from ancient installations could drive commercial interests to challenge existing international agreements that restrict Antarctic activities. The technological surveillance capabilities that are being developed for Antarctic research could themselves represent significant advances in exploration and discovery methods. Autonomous survey systems, advanced imaging technologies, and artificial intelligence analysis tools being deployed in Antarctica could have applications that extend far beyond polar research. Some researchers suggest that contact with advanced technologies or intelligences in Antarctica could accelerate human technological development in ways that could be either beneficial or dangerous. Access to technologies that exceed current human understanding could provide solutions to global challenges like energy production and climate change, but could also pose risks if such technologies are not fully understood or safely controlled. The possibility that functioning technological systems in Antarctica are connected to global networks or communication systems raises questions about whether such systems could influence human technological development or social organization. If ancient installations continue to monitor and potentially interact with human civilization, their activation or exposure could have implications that extend far beyond Antarctica itself. The timeline for major Antarctic revelations may be accelerating due to multiple converging factors. Climate change is exposing hidden terrain faster than previously predicted, while advancing technology provides unprecedented capabilities for detecting and analyzing anomalous discoveries. The combination of these factors suggests that significant revelations about Antarctica's secrets may occur within the next few decades. Independent research efforts using publicly available satellite data and crowdsourced analysis are making it increasingly difficult for governments to suppress information about Antarctic discoveries. Citizen science projects and international collaboration among independent researchers could force disclosure of information that official sources prefer to keep secret. The implications of Antarctic discoveries for human consciousness and social organization could be as significant as their technological benefits. Evidence that advanced civilizations existed on Earth long before human development could fundamentally alter our understanding of our place in the universe and our relationship with the planet we inhabit. The discovery of ongoing non-human intelligence activities in Antarctica could force humanity to confront the reality that we share our planet with intelligences that possess capabilities far beyond our current achievements. Such revelations could trigger profound changes in human philosophy, religion, and social organization. The preservation of ancient wisdom and knowledge in Antarctic installations could provide access to insights about consciousness, spirituality, and the fundamental nature of reality that could guide human development toward greater wisdom and understanding. Ancient civilizations that survived for millions of years may have developed philosophical and spiritual understanding that could help humanity navigate the challenges of technological advancement and planetary stewardship. As we stand on the threshold of potentially recovering humanity's greatest ancient heritage, we must prepare for discoveries that could transform our understanding of what it means to be human in a universe far stranger and more wonderful than we have dared to imagine. The ice is melting, the secrets are emerging, and the future of human civilization may depend on how wisely we respond to the revelations that await us beneath Antarctica's ancient frozen veil. The story of Antarctica is far from over. In fact, it may be just beginning. As the ice continues its slow retreat and advanced technologies probe ever deeper into the continent's hidden mysteries, we may soon discover that our planet's most forbidding continent holds the key to understanding not just our past, but our ultimate destiny among the stars. The final chapter of Antarctica's story may yet prove to be the first chapter of humanity's true awakening to the cosmic heritage that has been waiting beneath the ice for millions of years, preserved in frozen silence until we became wise enough to understand the gifts that our planet has been safeguarding for our eventual discovery. In the end, Antarctica may teach us that the greatest mysteries are not found in distant galaxies or alien worlds, but hidden beneath our feet, waiting patiently for the moment when we develop the wisdom and courage to uncover the extraordinary truth about the world we call home.